listening from. My name is Kalu Aja, and this is my podcast or my spaces, Twitter spaces. It's a Twitter space about money, personal finance, the economy, and we always make it personal. So, how do these economic topics relate to you and your wallet? That's the whole idea. That's what we'll talk about every time we meet on a weekend. This week, we're trying to talk about the Nigerian FX reforms. It's going to be I'm just going to talk a little bit. I'm going to release the mic for the diaspora because I want to listen to the diaspora and get their views. So I'm going to give you just a little bit of, background, and then you guys get to speak, right? So first things first, let's talk about what's going on. In the past, in Nigeria, we had 2 or 3 exchange rates for the Naira, right? So we had the CBN rates, and then we had the maybe BDC, and then we had the black market rates. Essentially, we had one official rate, and that official rate was not pegged to reality. Essentially, you could buy Naira, or you could take 468 Naira and buy $1, but the market was selling the same dollar for 700 Naira. So margin, or what we say, big arbitrage opportunity there of almost 300 Naira. That's so large that no exporter, right, was willing to export products, earn dollars, and inflow those dollars back to Nigeria through the official channels. So guys, keep in mind that Nigeria has a lot of dollars. If you go to Nigerian domiciliary accounts, you will see tons of dollars. I think it's about 10 to 20 billion in dollar cash sitting in Nigerian bank vaults. This is minus the dollars that we hold physically as cash in Nigeria. We also have the P2P market where Nigerians are sending dollars home from abroad back to Nigeria. All those dollars, all that volume is happening outside the Central Bank of Nigeria's control. Nigerians are not sending back dollars because the rates just don't make any sense. You can send back at 463 when you can send it to the same Nigeria across the street and get 700. So we've had a change, I would say, in the last month. The bank has sort of removed the peg, or what we call the capital controls it's placed on the Naira. It has said, if you want to buy dollars, you simply go to your bank. Now, your bank is going to bid on the importers, as the investor and importers window, and your bank will then get what we call a market-determined price from that window, and of course, sell to you. So, Central Bank is saying we are not going to be the number one source for dollars anymore. If you are an investor, if you're an exporter, if you just want to do remittances to Nigeria, use the official channels. We will pay you at the rate that the market determines. So if I'm in Nigeria, the idea is that if I'm in Houston, I can send back my dollars because I'm going to get that market price. So what has happened in Nigeria? The exchange rate has devalued, or in this case, depreciated from the 463. I think last week I saw 800, right? But that price reflects willing buyer, willing seller. So if I have dollars I want to sell, that's how much I'm going to get someone to take it on the other side. About $800. So that's where we are right now. But I did look at last week, the Central Bank released their exchange and inflow report, right? The dollar remittances to Nigeria hasn't really picked up yet. But this is, let me caveat, as at the first quarter of 2023. We're still below what we did in 2022, and the reforms seem not to have really kicked in. Again, we don't have the figures to show what has come in after the reforms. But I was just curious to ask my diaspora folks, which are going to be the fastest people to send money back to Nigeria, if they know about these reforms, and if these reforms are going to make any impact on their decision to send more inflow back to Nigeria. I mean, of course, if you are building a house in Nigeria and you are sending $100, then you got maybe 70,000 Naira. Now you're going to get 80,000 Naira. So will that make you send more money home? If the answer is yes, then why aren't you sending it? If the answer is no, what do you think the government can do in terms of the reforms for you in terms of making it easy for you, what would you like to see that would really make you send money home? And I'm not talking about the money you send even for welfare, but also for investing. What will make you buy a Nigerian bond, for instance? So the floor is open. You guys are going to talk. I'm just going to moderate. And I've got my first speaker, Chris. Chris, how are you? Where are you calling from, sir? Hey, Chris, you're going to unmute that little button. You're going to hit that button so you can speak. Before Chris jumps in here, let me go I already have my first DM. Kalu, can you confirm where I can get the price as of today for dollars? Yes, I personally use FMDQ. Just do on your Twitter handle at FMDQ. That's the, should we say, the over-the-counter what's it called now? Market that prices Nigerian bonds, Nigerian treasuries, and also they also post and host the Nigerian exchange rate. So I use the at FMDQ. So if you want to get really the market rate, that's a good place for it to go to at FMDQ. I'm just going to share the handle on my tweet so you can just follow it. That's the best place I think I get the real price for dollars. Demi, you've got the floor. What's happening, sir?
Yeah, good evening, and really good conversation. I've become increasingly interested in the affairs in Nigeria, as you can probably tell.
Yeah.
I reside in Britain. I've been born and bred here, but I'm of Nigerian heritage. So my contribution to this is that I've been closely following the exchange rate because I do send money to Nigeria. But one of the conversations I've been having with my mum is about investing in Nigeria. One of the things you'll find in the West is that there's a lot of regulation, there's not a lot of opportunity. I mean, we have very, I would say, quote unquote, mature economies. So the opportunity to invest is there, but it's a lot more regulated, a lot lower expectation of return, right? So if someone was to give you a 5% return in the UK, that would be an excellent return. So Africa and Nigeria specifically presents an amazing opportunity to invest. I would say the only thing that for me is an issue is concerns around how robust the regulatory framework is. Like, for example, buying property. As someone that lives in the UK, I'd be very nervous that I would buy a property and be defrauded, or I'd buy a property and end up in dispute about ownership with somebody. Whereas in the UK, we have, very robust processes. It's, fraud in that area is almost unheard of. If you buy a house, it's yours. There's no kind of dispute over whether someone owns it or you're fighting your family member for ownership over the house or things like that. So I guess my contribution is just that. And maybe it's because I'm just relying on perceptions in Nigeria, but my contribution as a British person is I know that there are plenty of people in the UK that want to invest in Nigeria, but they have anxieties around fraud, robust regulatory framework, and a clear path for resolving legal disputes as and when they arise. Those are my thoughts.
I mean, those are real fears you've shared. Like, because if I was like you, I didn't really know Nigeria, and I tried to invest, and I see on the news that this happened, that happened, I would express this exact same views. So just to give maybe. Not to change your mind, but just to give you a bit of facts, right? So if you wanted to invest in Nigeria now today, right, you could take £100. Let's make it realistic. Let's say £1,000, right? You could buy a bond in Nigeria, and you could inflow that money officially through a Nigerian bank. You could go in, buy a bond, and when you take your pounds to Naira to buy that bond, we also give you a forward FX market where you can actually go in and buy your dollars to take your money out of Nigeria. So it's sort of like you hedge your bets. And I think most Nigerian banks offer dollar-denominated investments in Nigeria. And the advantage of doing that for Nigeria is that you get a higher yield. I know UK has just raised their rates to 5%. But way back in Nigeria, we're already doing 5% on dollar returns in Nigeria. Like you practically said, the pool for Nigeria is the returns you get in Nigeria. It's a higher risk that then gives you that opportunity to get a higher return. So I do feel you. I do understand. I agree what you're saying. We have to be more robust in how we, we assuage investors' concern around safety. I mean, our CBN governor is locked up, right? That won't happen in the UK. But still, good point. But it takes, Nigeria is an open market and it's a very profitable market if you do want to get in. Getting slowly. Last week we had some guys talk about real estate investing, higher yields in Nigeria. Good model. They buy a property, you invest in the property, they manage it, they give you rental yields. I think it's a very, very good way to get into the real estate market in Nigeria without owning property, without worrying about title. But Demi, appreciate your concerns. I thank you. Let's get Kenny. Kenny, Kola Wally, how you doing, sir?
Hey, Carlo, thanks for having this seminar or
space, man.
Yes. I think I totally agree with them. The enabling environment, because of lack of good enabling environment for business. I mean, are you going to get your money back? That has been refraining people from investing in Nigeria, basically. But one thing I would like to ask you is, my commentary is going to be more of a question to you. Mm-hmm. So the last time I checked Nigeria credit rating, the Fitch, we are like negative B in our credit rating. I wish then I check overall what the bank always take, and we are not really bad. But what is the thing that is hindering Nigeria from accessing U.S. capital market like Goldman Sachs, the Bank of America? What is the thing? Like I was checking the Tinubu palliative is 500 billion euro. Is that? I'm like, what's that going to do to fuel gases? What is that? Later now they're going to share it. It is 80,000 naira. I mean, what is the thing that's hindering Nigeria from accessing playing big in the capital market? What is it? Thank you, Carl.
Yeah, Kenny. Kenny's great question. Let me ask you. You don't have to give me a specific location. Are you calling from Europe or from the Americas?
I'm calling from US. I'm based in.
Got you. So, Nigeria. Let's go back to say 2012. Nigeria, right, was in the JP Morgan bond index of emerging markets. What that meant is this, right? The way you invest abroad, the way the big boys invest abroad, they don't buy individual bonds, they buy indexes, or they buy a money market fund. So Nigeria was included. I think we're the second and only emerging markets bonds to be included in that index. I think it was South Africa and Nigeria. So what that means is this: if a Bloomberg guy, a young guy wants to buy emerging market bonds, once he buys that JP Morgan bond, he has automatically bought Nigerian bonds. Mm-hmm. So we were already in that market, and that gave Nigeria a lot of liquidity. So every month, people are buying our bonds because they are buying that emerging market bond. So Nigeria could sell bonds and get foreign exchange capital flowing in the country. Why were we on that bond? Number one, who were the people that ran the economic team in Nigeria? Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. You had a World Bank president. If you Googled her name, you saw World Bank, a lot of gravitas, So investors, these boys, these are 23-year-old boys that don't know what Africa or who Africa is.
So they are going with reputations.
They go by reputation. They go by what they see on Bloomberg. So you see her, okay, it's a bit good. Then they look at the macroeconomic conditions of the country. If you pulled up Nigeria's macroeconomic conditions in, say, 2012, you saw inflation was not just single digit. It was stable for like 4 years. So it wasn't just that it was low, but it was stable. There were no really ups, there were no really downs. Then they looked at the Central Bank of Nigeria's foreign reserves. Boy, it was high. It was like maybe 49 or 50 or 60 billion and growing. So they knew that if they tried to test Nigeria or to try to sell Nigerian bonds, the central bank had enough ammunition to beat them back, right? So the macroeconomic inflation, the GDP growth, Nigeria was casually posting 6%, 7%, 8%, casually, right? So the economy was growing. We were what you'd call a unicorn. We had a large number of English-speaking young people, so large market. GE had come to Calabar, invested $1 billion, right? You had MTN, everyone come to Nigeria to invest a lot of billions. So those guys in Goldman Sachs look at the country and say, this is a growing economy. We want to be a part of this economy. Hence, they put us in the bond so that people could invest in that bond to get exposure to Nigerian growth, right? And if you look at 2015, there was a famous tweet on CNN where they listed the markets that were going to be the top 5 in the entire world. I think it was number 1 was Qatar, number 2 or 3 was Nigeria. That's a famous tweet there where CNN put it up there. That's where we were. What happened in 2015 destroyed everything. In 2015, the central bank governor, based on the comment by the president, we had Goldman Sachs warned us, not Goldman, JP Morgan warned us, when foreigners are buying Nigerian bonds, they're finding it hard to take their money back out of Nigeria because your central bank is restricting exports of dollars from Nigeria.
Wow.
And they said we have to remove that restriction because we're bringing the dollars in, we want to take it out. Just like how the airlines are complaining today. And the Nigerian government did not listen. They were proud. They were saying, hey, it's Nigeria, all this stuff. And JP Morgan took Nigeria off that bond index. Once we left the bond index, then the only way we could secure consistent flow of dollars was to go borrow. Hence, you saw us go from JP Morgan bond index to Euro bonds, where we're not borrowing directly at a higher cost. So now it was no longer the automatic purchase of our bonds. It was we had to go sell our bonds. And when you are selling your bonds, what are you doing? You are selling at a higher yield. So that's where the debt trap Nigeria has started from. In that we had to sell bonds at 8.5% for 30 years to attract dollar investments. When we were already in a bond index, we were already in the bond index. We didn't have to go market. So we now had to go sell bonds. We did the capital controls, and then we retained subsidies. Those two things killed off the interest in Nigeria. The foreign investors left. From 2015, the foreign investors have been leaving till today. And you've seen the foreign portfolio go out. You've now seen the physical investors, like the Emirates Airlines, physically leave. They're not going to be in Nigeria anymore. So what the new government is trying to do is to reverse what happened from 2015 to 2023. Say, okay, we're going to try to put all this pot that we had in 2015 to say, if you bring in capital, you can take out capital. We're going to give you just one price for dollar. That's what they're trying to do. It doesn't mean that what they do will necessarily work. It means that if they don't do it, nobody will bring in money. That's what's going on. They have to do what they are doing now to even get anyone to even look at Nigeria. If you don't remove exchange rates, if you don't make the Naira to float and get a real pricing, if you don't remove capital controls, if you don't have a forward market for Naira, then nobody will bring money in. But even if you then do it, it doesn't guarantee. So it's sufficient, but not necessary. It's necessary, but not sufficient. People, you need to have it. But even if you have it, it doesn't mean people will bring money in. Hence my space. So I'm asking people like you, Kenny. Let me ask you, I've answered your question. Let me ask you my own question.
Okay.
Have you sent more money? Or have you sent less money based on the reforms, or the reforms have got no meaning to you whatsoever?
So mine doesn't go up, doesn't change. Basically, welfare, you know how it is now. We have people in Nigeria we have to take care of. Then maybe you have a project, personally you are doing. So, but it's right now, my brother is now, we were having conversation last week. He was telling me about real estate market, like citing an example, like somewhere in Shomolu, you can literally buy a house, like all this face me and face you old house.
Yeah.
Start turn it to a modern edifice, and so that's what I'm looking into right now. So I think I'll be jumping on that. So, but from the so my sending money back to Nigeria hasn't changed at all. That's basically welfare.
But were you aware of all these reforms in the past?
Oh yes, I follow Nigerian politics judicially, so I know.
No way made you say, hey, I'm going to send more money back, because like when you do this Shomolu project, are you doing it because of these reforms, or you would have done it either way?
I think because, to be honest, I think I'm doing it because of this reform, but because of this reform, because I'm persuasion of the people on ground, because I've been hesitant to invest in Nigeria. So usually I used to send money back to Nigeria, cars back to Nigeria, then they will sell it. At the point, they can find a way to send my money back to me. But since the everything. It's difficult to get your money back to the US. So I kind of leave that business for a while.
And the last question for you: how do you send money to Nigeria? Do you do a bank transfer? Do you give more cash to bring? How do you send your money to Nigeria?
So I use all this app called all these fintech app like Sendwaves and all those kind of stuff like that. That's what I use.
Do they give the guys naira or dollars? Because
those guys, they change the policy. Earlier they won't give you your dollars, but now they will now give you your dollar, so you can now go to the black market and change it because you're going to get a good deal from them. But now I think they are, as at the last time, I think they are giving them dollars now. They will give you dollar when you work inside the banks.
So you use the app. The law now says they can get naira, dollar, whatever they want. They're making it.
Yeah. So whenever you get, when you get to the bank, so it depends on your choice. They will give you naira. They will give you dollars. So
excellent.
I prefer dollars.
Yeah, Kenny, go back and look at the space we had last week, right? We had some guys here doing property. What you want to do? So they're buying these things in Shomolu or Yaba. They buy them. They convert them to 25-year leases, so you can then you can get the cash flow without you being an actual. You are buying land. Lagos, you're buying land, buying this, all that.
Yes, and what another concern I have is dealing with this on how to perfect the paper. Another thing that kind of scare me away. But if I can see somebody that can bypass, not bypass, that can make that process a little bit you can have confidence in that process. Sure. I appreciate it.
Yeah, go back last week. If you can't find them, send me a DM. I'll get them to contact you. They were here last week. They've been here before. What they're doing is, I've seen it happen in Abuja. They buy land, they demolish the land, and they build it into shoplets, one, two bedrooms. So it's faster to rent. It's get more customers. So the yield goes up. Then of course you then get the yield as an investor. So look for them. I think you might find them interesting. Yeah, Kenny. Really do appreciate you for coming. Yeah, Okonta Kosi, how you doing, sir?
Yes, I'm doing fine. Good evening, Doctor.
Good evening, sir. Hey. Where are you calling from? Europe, Americas, or Asia?
I'm calling from the UK, sir.
UK, what's happening, man? So you heard what we're talking about reforms and all that. So question for you before you give me your own issue. Have you spending more money or less money? And is it because of these reforms or you want to see more?
I've been sending less money, actually. And it is because of these reforms and the ones before. Yes. So, I don't know. Can I just... Okay. So, the thing is, I entered the UK last year. And when I came to the UK, majority, 90% of the Nigerians I met here told me one thing. They said, Kosi, never send your money back home for any building project. Don't invest back home. They were like, we know you love Nigeria, we know you want to do this, we know you're always talking about Nigeria, but don't you dare invest back home. And I'm like, no. I was like, it's a lie, Nigeria is still home, and the likes like that. Then I started investing, particularly in businesses. And my wife also invested in real estate. Then came all the invested in agriculture, invested in lands. And there's one particular thing that kept on making all the investments crumble. The arbitrariness of Nigerian policy making. Let me give an example. One policy making that's destroyed in three of my businesses at once was this Naira issue that the Naira... yes. That one destroyed many of my businesses. In short, it crippled all of them like that. And a lot of people here as well, they, at a point in time when I now told one of my senior friends, she was now like, I told you not to invest in Nigeria for now. Just ignore Nigeria. Focus on your immediate family and just focus on investing where you are, where you can be able to physically monitor things like that. So I guess that's the most important thing that's really, really that has disrupted my faith in ever investing in Nigeria. It's the arbitrariness of everything. Government can just wake up today. The state government can wake up today and just come up with just one form of policy that just takes the food from your mouth. And there's another major thing which many of my persons that I've seen here, friends, co-workers that have millions in they have thousands of pounds in their account, and when I talk to them, they say, what they have in mind was agriculture, but a friend of theirs went back home and their friend was kidnapped by herdsmen in the farm. Another friend of his, another friend of mine, ahead of another person. So they are like, I don't want to go back home and go and put my money in a place where I would be kidnapped or killed in the farm. That lack of security. It's a major thing that really makes people disinterested in going ahead with any form of investment like that.
So
okay, yes.
Your remittances has gone down, and it's because really of the policy. So this whole thing we're talking about in Nigeria, let's say we're making it easy for you guys. We've made the rates. You get the best rate. You get naira. You get dollars. Is it going to change your mind? Are you going to be in the wait and see, or is it a definite no for you? You're just going to focus on the UK for now. Where are you on this?
To me, it's going to be on a wait and see for at least 2 to 3 years.
Wow.
I have to. I have to just keep watching if there's a real change in the posture of the government towards policies. If they are going to be stable, or they are going to be like the other set of persons who were before, who could just randomly come up with something. Like, I have to be. It's just like being in the UK. For me, I'm in the UK and I see policies. You can't just change some things. It doesn't just work that way. You can't just randomly come and these people will question you. You won't even have the boldness to try it. So in those instances, that is what has informed my decision. And even my wife, she's trying to liquidate all of her investment.
You guys have stopped. They're not liquidating.
They are liquidating everything. And the ones, the matter of fact, we're actually even liquidating at a loss. But we are like, it's better we liquidate at a loss than we having to deal with lots of issues that potential.
Just talk about here.
Yes.
I hope so. I mean, I respect your comments. I hope you're in the minority, right? I respect what you're saying. I hope you're in the minority. Let me get Olumide in here first, right? And then that's Olumide, Olumo of Derby, because let me hear him, then I can get the expert like Olumide to come and speak. Olumo, can you hop in? Olumo of Derby, do you hear what people are saying?
Yeah, good evening. Happy Sunday to everybody. Good evening, Kalu. Thank you for hosting the space. I understand what people are saying, and happy Sunday to all the wonderful listeners and the speakers so far. The bottom line is, I have a few points I'm going to say. So I think one of the most important factors has to be lack of an enabled environment in our society. Look at the insecurity, tourism, the corruption, lack of trust in the system, unemployment, and of course, one of the saddest parts is we have over 20 million Nigerians who live in diaspora. I think people remit over $26 billion every year, according to the CBN. That's a big, big money. That's almost the budget of our country. Yeah. The federal government has failed to make use of the diaspora, Nigerians in diaspora. Let me even give one other example. When you look at corruption, the gentleman mentioned property investments.
Yeah.
I'm part of a few Nigerians in the UK group, even Nigerians in diaspora. Obviously talk about investments. I work with a few brands in Nigeria as well. When it comes to property, it's always difficult to convince any Nigerian to invest back home when it comes to property. People tell that, Loma, you want to invest in this business, and then before maybe a couple of years down the line, all the packages, everything looks great, but then when it comes to doing the nitty-gritty, nothing comes up, you understand? That's even one. Let me pause you guys bubble here. Nobody might think this might not be serious, but the diaspora bill is also another issue. where a lot of Nigerians who are based in abroad have also lost interest. When you look at countries like Namibia, Kenya, Burkina Faso, Togo, South Africa, they're already into diaspora voting already. So, for example, if I was in South Africa now, all I have to do is leave my house when it comes to election to vote. I would just go to the embassy in London and vote. That means South Africans are Africans like us, the Kenyans, Burkina Faso, our neighbor, small country like Togo, they're doing diaspora bill already. Now, Ghana, Morocco, they're actualizing diaspora as well. When you tell some Nigerians in diaspora to come and invest, they tell you that, how can I invest in a country that I can't even decide who's the leader, who leads this country? And they have a point.
Yeah.
These people have a point.
That's a good.
I mean, I'm part of a community of Nigerians in the UK. We have about almost 11,000. Also, we have so many Nigerian communities in diaspora. Nigerians in the US, Nigerians in Germany, Nigerians in Finland, Nigerians in Australia. We have Nigerians in Middle East communities, Nigerians in South Africa, Nigerians in Canada. All these communities, I'm in touch with every one of them. And the same issue is members of these communities are telling me all the time. People, it's simple. Why should I be investing in my country, when I can't even decide who becomes the head of my country? So the company needs to wake up and understand that if Nigerians in diaspora are pulled back, a lot of things will go wrong. Secondly, look at unemployment. I think we have about 3.8% unemployment in our society. I've said it so many times. I'm always playing to Nigerians in diaspora. Let's invest back home. So, for example, my PA lives in Nigeria. I mean, I employed my PA who's also based in Nigeria. I could have employed someone in the UK here. I have a small business I'm running in Ibadan, Lagos as well. So what I've done is that I have about 8 to 9 people who work for me in Nigeria. So I've just done my own little percentage. So there's a lot of Nigerians in diaspora. I've done mine. Other Nigerians can also do their own too. So for Nigeria to be great, every one of us have to come on board. If you can employ 2 people, another person employs 2-3 people, before you know it, the unemployment go down. Because the bottom line is the government cannot do everything. So we have to be fair as well. As much as I like to criticize the government, also Nigerians in diaspora have to do our part as well. 2, the insecurity. Insecurity is a big deal. Yeah, go on, Khalil.
Yeah, I want to get this in here, right? So, question for you is this: the policies with the FX, just on the FX alone, does that move the needle for you and your friends you've spoken to? Are people saying, "Wow, because CBN has done this, I'm going to send more money home"? Do you hear that from anybody, or is just they are just doing this? How was the conversation around this policy CBN is doing? Does it move any needle?
So, regarding the CBN policies, sometimes, obviously, a lot of CBN policies are not right. A lot of people are angry with the CBN policies. You even look at the Form A recently that happened. I don't know if you know about the Form A. So, about a lot of just the past couple of months, over 100 Nigerian students have been registered at universities in the UK. So, a lot of Nigerian students are actually just not doing anything with their lives here in the UK, all because of the FX regulations, what CBN policies has affected them. So a lot of things are not right. So people have actually lost trust in the system itself. So unless the new administration comes up with I'm looking forward to see who's going to be the new CBN governor. We're still waiting for that to be approved and see what policy is going to come up with. Even with your Form A issues, a lot of things have gone so wrong, which clearly tells you that the lack of enabling environment, lack of trust in the system, people have lost trust in our system. I mean, there's much we can do. Even some of us who have the belief in Nigeria to understand, okay, we can still get it right, but how long are we going to keep on saying this for? How long? And then when people decide to stop sending money back home, it's going to affect our economy. Maybe we like it or not. Look at the GDP in South Africa. Look at Egypt's GDP. South Africa is second to us in Africa, but look at their population. South African population is only 58 million people compared to 200 million Nigerians. If South Africa had our population, their GDP would be in trillions, easily in trillions. So we have to sit down and come back to the drawing board. The federal government has to understand that a lot is not well. We're not even making use of our population. We're not making use of the amount of Nigerians who live in diaspora. I think we have the highest Nigerian Africans in diaspora who send money back home. I think next to us is Egypt, if I'm right, understand. So we have to make use of all these stuffs. And it gets me angry sometimes because the federal government itself, sometimes, I don't know if our leaders, I also believe, for us to get it right, we need to have the right mix of technocrats and career politicians as well. We can't only have career politicians who just come into politics. No, we have to get it right. The technocrats will do the country more good if they get involved in struggle to make our country better. And I believe these kind of discussions will educate us and, of course, enlighten us to understand that we have to do better. Are you the mic for now?
Thank you. Interesting that you said that this conversation has been swallowed by the focus on a lack of trust of the government. Key point you're making. Olumide, hop in here. Olumide, give us some clarity on the number, all that. You've heard what people are saying. People don't really trust the government, and from what I'm hearing, they're not really impressed by the reforms. Yeah, it's good, but still, that lack of trust, lack of quote-unquote enabling environments, it's really was what I'm hearing. Olumide, what's your take?
Yeah, Carlo, thanks for having a very interesting conversation. And, it's a very great opportunity to once again express oneself in terms of monetary policy. If you look at the FX market is definitely governed by liquidity and market efficiency. So no matter how cosmetic or appealing your reforms is, if you don't address those issues, then you're in serious trouble. Yes, you could applaud, we all applauded the presidential reforms but the problem has been the implementation, the design, and the mechanism used. So if you look at, we've always complained that whether you're practicing managed float, whether you're practicing crawling peg, whether you're practicing fixed exchange system, successful countries all apply these things, and it works differently from China to the United States to Switzerland. The issue in Nigeria is we're having an anemic supply side. First of all, we are owing oil traders $3 billion. We also have FX obligations that we've not fulfilled. Investors have not been able to put their funds back as we speak. There are backlogs. IATA, that Association of Airlines, foreign airlines, have not been able to take their funds, about over $800 million. Also, what really scares me is that if you look at the first half of the year, real remittance have dropped significantly. Data from the CBN suggests that it's less than $1 billion. In 2022, real remittance was about $2.16 billion. Now, you should also look at the fact that, yes, the market has been on an upside. The trick is that if you look at the last couple of days, you could see some drawdowns. And the reason of the drawdowns is that the reality on ground is that fiscal discipline is not there. We're seeing the way lawmakers are trying to do budget padding and things like that. So the FX market right now is on a free fall. And the scary part of it is that other markets are becoming very attractive. I posted the US bond market. If you look at the trade there, I posted the yields, future date. The long-term US bond is giving 12.3%. Why would I keep my funds in Nigeria where I can get a more safer yield, and I'll spend less on credit default swap. Now, also, you also need to look at the dynamics at which the Naira is falling. In June alone, the Naira lost about 40%. In July now, Naira is down by 10%. So we are looking at the fact that, it seems that this is not, and those issues have not been addressed. So the problem is, why haven't we been able to solve this problem? Simple reasons. We've not been able to align our monetary and fiscal policy properly. We are dancing to the market while not solving structural issues. Lastly, like you mentioned, I'm not in Nigeria, for example. I'm a very big investor in Nigerian stock market. I invested a lot of money in Nigeria. But the reality on ground was that the body language I was seeing in the market, I was even thinking that, by time with the floating of the Naira and things, we should stabilize between 750, at some point we'll fall back to 600 when the Apex Bank will at some point interfere. But it started getting out of hand when you see the gap in the investors and exporters window, and also the fact that petrol marketers could not access the investors. So the question is, who access the investors and exporters window? So there is no accessibility. The black market demand is still high. The P2P players are still actively involved. So that's why we are seeing the exchange rate at where it is. It's not been effective at all.
Question. You said the Naira has fallen to, say, 800, right? Did it actually fall, or it has just come to his real price? Was it that the Naira at 400 was an artificial price, and right now at 800, this is actually the real exchange value for the Naira? What's your take?
So the 400, definitely, we understood that was definitely heavily subsidized. That was not the true value of Naira. Even if you look at it on different metrics, we knew that it was definitely subsidized by the CBN. But if you also look at the realities right now, that's very tricky, because if you look at the way the dollar had rallied this year, one should expect the naira should be at least be around the 650, 700. I'll tell you why. The dollar had declined based on the fact that the US economy is doing well. They've been able to improve interest rates and that interest rates upsides will definitely reduce. So investors are really betting on that, and that's why the British pound has been rallying so high. In fact, it's been on the best run against major currencies. So one would have expected that. But if you look at the naira has not even been able to break even against the dollar. It broke 1,000 against the British pound, and it looks like breaking. So it's really very tricky, Carlo. But I can tell you one thing: the market is still not efficient. The value we are getting right now, I can tell you, is either the 800 is artificially very high. I still feel that if we have a very efficient system, despite concerns that our CBN reserves is not really showing the $34 billion, a lot of people still believe that it's been a bit talked about. But I still feel that it's not as bad as we are seeing. That's because June data suggested that our oil output came at 1.4 million barrels. And the price of oil per barrel is 81. Nigeria gets 40% of daily production at the federal government. So if we do the mathematics of that, we can be able to cushion at least 3 to 6 months, But the problem right now is that we have a lot of backlogs, and the fact that fiscal policymakers are making a good mind. Look at what happened a few days ago, padding the palliative budget for 100 billion to take care of cars and the judicial ministry. Just 1,000 people, while 12 million households are sharing 500. So look at the fairness and look at the objective. So that alone will scare investors for coming out. And don't be surprised, you see the stock market coming from its peak of 65,000 index points as we speak right now. So investors are also looking at three things. What the president is saying is not what the market is seeing. Also, there's more attractive environment in efficient markets from the UK to the United States and much recently Australia. So you have to look at all those contexts. So it's a multiple situation. Very
Don't let you go. Last point, I heard you say oil price is 1.1. We were doing casually. I don't think we've hit our oil targets that we used to hit in, say, 2012 for a long time. We are talking about oil theft. It's still ongoing. Our imports and our export position, right? Even though we are exporting more, that is Dangote urea that has made us now have a positive export balance. If you take away Dangote urea, then we're back to crude oil. Cocoa is our largest export, non-oil. It's nothing. The point I'm trying to make is that in terms of exports, we are still back to crude oil. And even that crude oil, we're not even exporting because of the oil theft. So when you look at all these factors, and Nigerians say Naira is 800, unless these diaspora people that we're talking to decide to bring money to Nigeria, I don't see why the Naira value will rise. That's the point I'm making. The CBN governor said oil sales had not hit the CBN because of subsidy. Now, taking away subsidy, so oil will start to come in. But what have we seen? We have seen this, the spending going on, the nonsense spending. So the savior is remittances. And if
but my problem with remittance, is that if you look at real wages, because despite the fact that inflationary rate has moderated in the United States, unemployment across immigrants is at its high. Because I was really working with some private banks, some private data immigrants. The number of immigrants getting real jobs as we speak has kind of moderated, except for Canada and United States, for obvious reasons. And that's why government is really looking at proactive measures. And so Germany, for example, they have labor shortages and that's kind of unemployment. So all those things come into play. Then also, like I mentioned again, their markets are attractive. Why would a Nigerian invest in a GT Bank, for example, when he has to go through a lot of arduous process? Why he can rather invest in an Apple that did 40% this year, or invested in Nvidia that did double, or invested in Meta that did triple? You look at the returns, the incentives to invest at home has reduced. Also, you also look at the fact that the cost of capital, the cost of moving funds from one point to another has become very complicating, because different policies coming out, different policies. You look at the new rules of about remittance, new rules that you can have option in and things like that. It's a bit unclear to a lot of people. Yeah. Then lastly, again, Nigerians are now spending more where they reside because they are not getting that subsidized dollar they used to get. If you look at 2022, Nigeria spent $1 billion on foreign education. That was close to our budget on education. Right now, you are going to see more Nigerians now having to spend less because the subsidy they're getting from government is not much. They have to pay at market. So these are things you also need to consider. So remittance, yes, is our hope, but we can't really bank on them so much. So we need to work on our crude oil output. And cocoa did well this year. Cocoa is at its... But the problem in Nigeria is that Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana are taking advantage of Nigeria's weak supply. So we don't have a strong trading capability in Nigeria. And also our cocoa output has not really done so well. So rather than us making money in our commodities, the margins are not even helping. So it's really a very sorry state in the Nigerian economy as we speak.
Gotcha. Good point. Let me talk to, should we say, a provider of remittances. Let me try and see if they can give me some data points. So I've got Kiyoshi. I personally use Kiyoshi. That's how I do my transfers back and forth to Nigeria. Like I go there, it's like P2P, but I can bid and I get my funds immediately. Kiyoshi, can you guys hear me?
Loud and clear. Good evening. It's great to be here. Right. Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly well.
Awesome.
I'm trying to get data from you, right? Have you seen an uptick, right, in, say, remittances from, say, the Americas, UK to Nigeria? Is there any trend you've noticed that you want to share? Should we be hopeful? That's the word.
All right, thank you so much. Again, it's great to be here. Just a brief background, so you guys know what Carlo and Oluomo use. So pretty much built for users a peer-to-peer marketplace that lets people swap currencies. So if you have Naira and you want foreign currencies like dollar, CAD, pound, euro, Kiyoshi is your plug for that. And also if you're in the diaspora, so in about 40 countries, including the US, UK, Canada, Australia, Asia as well, and you want to send Naira to Nigeria directly, we are also your plug for that. So also for those that like to save in dollars in DOM account, if you have Naira and you also want to get dollars in DOM account, again, Kiyoshi is your plug for that. So I think one thing that kind of stands out to us is that when this happened and when the Naira was floated, right, the parallel market rates, right, and the INE rates were never really at par. So it felt like what people were doing in the black market did not necessarily change. People were still buying USD pounds at the rates that they were buying the day before. But in the last 1 week, I would say the last about 9 days, we saw like a crazy uptick in the rates, right? So we started seeing pounds, break out of 1,000 into 1K plus. And the thing is that the habit has not really changed. So there's no uptick per se because everyone thinks that the rates are going to go. So people are trying to kind of like waiting their foreign currency. Meanwhile, people in Nigeria are trying to like get Naira out of Nigeria really quickly. So we saw like an uptick in people trying to get foreign currency. There's a massive demand from here. Like before it increases, people are trying to pay school fees. People are trying to just get, buy things or import things. Just pretty much like a massive demand for FX, right, on the Naira side. But on the other side is like, they're kind of like, chill, this is going to go up. So I'm going to sell my USD, my pound, or my CAD, at the highest possible rate. Even if they can't really predict what that's going to be. But you're just going to see that behavior of just, having to, massive demand and, less supply as we have seen before the rates started to go up.
I agree. Yeah. So I had made the point that in the last 8 years in Nigeria, the best performing asset class was the US dollar if you were Nigerian. If you simply bought US dollars and you put it in the ground and you took out the ground, you would have made more money than if you bought stocks, property, whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are you saying this has not moved the needle, that because of this CBN reforms, haven't seen this big surge in sending money back home?
No, not really. Not really. Because again, everyone is thinking the rates are going to go up, right? So I would say anyway on the app, right, it hasn't really changed the volume significantly. There's been, you have great days, you have days where people are sending more, are sending less, but then a significant change hasn't actually occurred yet. That's because everyone is thinking this is going to go up. Everyone's trying to maybe hedge funds, trying to compare rate. So the great thing is on Kyoshi now, we're launching a new feature in the community that lets people actually, so kind of like a kayak or Wakana of remittance sort of. So you're able to come on Kyoshi and like select the best provider since, the CBN has kind of opened this up to every player. So you have like guys like Wardromate back in the market, guys like Umately, so other bigger IMTs are now kind of come back into the market and, send Naira to Nigeria. So right now you're able to come on Kyoshi in the next 1 week, and you're able to pretty much, how the way kind of shop for flights, and pick the best flight for you. So you're able to come on Kyoshi and then select the best remittance provider for you to send money back to Nigeria. So that kind of
wave.
Sorry?
I can come and pick who I want to send my money to.
Yeah. Best rates, best fees. Obviously, Kyoshi's P2B is always going to be the best rates. But you have other players as well. And, if you want to send dollars back as well. So pretty much you're able to just come on the app and just select the best, offer for you at each given time. Because we've seen rates differ. We've seen ridiculous rate difference in different providers in this time because of how unstable the rates are. So we haven't seen a massive uptick in terms of like you said, in terms of like people sending money back. It's not a massive, significant uptick. It's been largely more or less the same, but we've seen a massive demand. The Naira side, people trying to get their money out of Naira into FX before they think rates are going to, skyrocket. That's what we've seen in terms of trends.
So people are buying dollar in Nigeria because they think the price is going to go up.
They're trying to buy pounds, trying to pay fees before some people are trying to pay like fees for 2 terms ahead of time. So there's a lot of demand in terms of from the Naira side. So we've seen that ridiculous in the last 1 week.
Yeah, that is good. That's good. That's good background. Thank you so much for that. Just hang in there, just in case one has a question. Alpha.
Yeah, we're here.
Yeah, thanks. Alpha Sunday.
Can I just say something quickly? Sorry, I think Kaushi forgot something as well. So Kaushi also sends money to over 40 countries in the world, and of course, if you don't pay your tuition fees in the UK, Canada, or the US, you can also use Kaushi. I just thought to chip that in quickly, and I'm also the brand ambassador. I'm also the brand ambassador for Kaushi as well. So so anybody who knows you're in a good company to represent, don't worry. Kaushi is your right spot to look into if you don't do that. But yeah, you the microphone. Thank you, sir.
Alpha, yeah.
Thank you so much.
No worries. Alpha Sunday. Alpha, what's happening? Where are you calling in from? Americas, UK, London? Where are you calling in from? Alpha? You said you're a speaker. Okay, let's get Busayo in here. Busayo, God, family, and football. What's happening, sir? Busayo, speak to me. Alpha is off. Busayo is off. Let me try. Millie Shield.
Hello?
Yeah, Busayo.
Yeah, I'm on now. Okay, thanks for this opportunity. And like the last speaker said, I think the issue here is the demand is much more than the supply. On the supply side, I run a small export company. Yeah. And then back in the days during the Emefiele era, I share my export proceeds into 2. Half goes into my normal domiciliary account and half goes into my NXP account. And then with the NXP account, I don't have access to the dollar. And then, the bankers, they sell it on my behalf, and I get that. And then I cushion the effect with the half that goes into my normal domiciliary account. But now, with the FX reforms, I take 100% to the NXP account. Still, I don't have access to the dollar. But with the I&E window, I think I have the power to say, okay, I want to sell it at this so rate. If you can find me a buyer, let me issue, the go-ahead for you to sell. I think on the part of the exporter, you get adequate rate compared to the black market rate. For now, that is what is working for the exporter. Although we pay more in nest fees, if I think you have been talking about export business, so nest fees that we pay to the federal government each time we are exporting. So the next fees also, they have changed it. Normally when the Naira was pegged at 436, now the next fees as at the last 2 or 3 days ago, when I tried to do it, it's now 789. That is the federal government, the CBN and the trade management system, where we fill the NXP form and they have pegged it at 789. But the good thing is when we get our dollars, we can sell at even much more than the black market rate. As FMDQ stuff, you see it there. So it favors people on the export side. I really don't know why, some of the speakers have said. I think this one is it has attracted more people from the diaspora. So I'm speaking on from the Nigerian side because I'm still in Nigeria. So
So you are an exporter.
Yes, I'm an exporter.
Where do you export?
So and I export cashew nut and I export dried hibiscus flower for now and ginger.
Got you. So this policy has actually extended your export officially to the CBN, quote unquote, to the official side, not.
Yeah, official side.
Okay, all right.
Official trade management system being run by CBN.
If you live in the UK, would you do the same thing? Would you spend more money? Would you feel more comfortable with comms as well?
Well, if I'm in the UK, if I'm based in the UK, and I need to run business here, just like the guys in the UK said, the environment in Nigeria doesn't favor, you sending money for business upkeep here. The only thing is, I would advise that if you are, stationed here, because if you are there, you won't know what is going on here, and it might lead to trust issues. But really, when somebody says when you go into the farm, you are likely to be kidnapped, it's the real fact. So it's the real fact. And if you have spent time in the UK or in the US, you think that what is going on? ECB is my village or something like that. Nobody can touch me, but it's the real fact. So if somebody says, okay, security fees, when they are supposed to charge you 100,000 naira for a job, and they charge 50,000 naira extra for security fees, it's the real deal. And 50,000 naira has taken some part of the profits they are supposed to make. So I wouldn't know it's based on personal experiences, just like the guy that said he loves Nigeria and he will still. So it's based on your personal conviction if you want to keep sending money. And if you have parents, I think sending money to your parents is still part of the remittances you have been talking about all through. So I think the FX market needs that, but people have lost faith in the Nigerian system, as they have been saying, especially people that on the other side. It's based on their personal beliefs. If you are not sure of what you are investing in here in Nigeria, please don't. If you can liquidate everything, please do. That is it. It's your personal money. You have worked very, very hard for it in an unimaginable, weather conditions over there. I would not tell you to waste it on anything. Gotcha. But in Nigeria, sorry to use this, I don't know if you were reported, when a policy is out, you already know. I don't know if anybody is there that will come and arrest me. You already know who to contact. That you can just do Magmaga and bypass it. Not that it might not be just like you posted earlier in one of your tweets. Avoiding tax is illegal, and are you not the one that you said is legal? So that is what you have to be up and doing to make sure that tax. Yes. You said something about tax avoidance and the tax. You just have to. When you invest the money, you have to pay for tax. It's still good as long as you can prove it. That is what most people are doing. So it depends. If you don't want to send your money back at home, fine. But for a Nigerian state, Nigeria just have, if they are not, defending the dollar or defending the naira, just like Buhari did, the money have to go into meaningful things like the security, like power, like education. Those are the three key things.
What about land cruisers? What about land cruisers?
We know that these people will spend money on those things. We know it's wasteful. It's an ordinary person that could not really afford that will now cannot afford it. Just 4 years, he was going to spend 4 years doing sorry to say, absolutely nothing when it comes to helping the ordinary people. It's wasteful, but as a Nigerian, there's absolutely nothing we can do. We don't have the power, really, to prevent that. We don't have the power. The Constitution doesn't empower us to say you should not buy that car. The Constitution doesn't empower us. It is the Constitution that needs to change. Yep.
I hear you, right? So just a closing note, right? I think there are many things that Nigerians can do to avoid the big fees. Social media is very, very powerful. If we stream enough of social media, won't die. The only institution in Nigeria that does not do a line by line day of their budget is the National Assembly.
Yes.
Presidency does line by line. National Security Advisor, the DSS, they all do line by line. Only National Assembly not do line by line. Why? They are afraid that people would light them up. They are afraid of Twitter and social media. I say light them up. Copy your foreigner guys. Copy their stations in the UK. Say it's worth it spending your money on to buy that cruiser. So when they come to the US, hold them to account. Them under pressure. Put them, stop welcoming them. Just back with them. Put them under pressure. Why they are spending millions on Land Cruiser while youth can. If you don't put them under pressure, nothing will happen. And many things you can do. Put those guys under.
Yeah, it's an ideal in an ideal environment, in an ideal setting like the UK, the EU, or the US. All those things can work, but this is Nigeria.
Work. Let me get premium most days. IOTA. Hop in here, man.
Okay. Good day, everyone. So the reason why I actually requested is I know the speaker from Kaoshi or something. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Had said that there's been really no optics or high, inflow from like regular sources like inflowing money in dollars. I'm not really sure that the narrative that I'm not sure that the narrative of the reason why people are not bringing in money is really accurate. And the reason why I would say that is, when you're living abroad, you're only bringing in naira based on demand. The optics or, influx of money can only come in from I&E, right? The investors who are actually bringing in money for a purpose. And those are the people that would actually look at rates and other stuff before they bring in money, because they would also need to take out that money at some point in time. Maybe they brought in monies for maybe CCI or loan or something like that. But the regular you and I who inflow money based on demand, because I need this money at this particular point in time to do something, either for family purposes, for naira obligations. So I'm not simply going to wait until the rate peaks for me to process those transactions, because those are transactions based on demand. I need to send money to my folks, I need to buy something, or I just need to keep some extra cash. I'm not bringing in monies to invest. So rates picking up in like 2 or 3 months or in like 3 weeks is not going to really affect what I'm going to do. So I'm just saying that, except if there's a metrics to say that is why people are holding back, we need to understand that we can't really control the rationale behind how individuals send in money, because it's really based on demand. Even if I want to buy a house, the house is not going to continue to remain in the market for me. So even if I know that the rates would go up by 100 naira, and it's going to favor me in a month, I'm not going to tell the seller to keep their house for another 1 month for me so that the rates can favor me. So I don't know if that makes sense. I'm just saying that, except we have some metrics to really show consumer behavior.
I hear you. I think the point I heard them say was that if I am in Nigeria and the dollar was $7.90 last week, and I think the dollar is going to go to $800 or $810 this week, I will and buy. I will demand more dollars, because
in naira in Nigeria I can buy. I can impulse buy because I think the rates will go up. But if I'm abroad, right, I'm not gonna move monies. What I'm talking about the influx now, the inflow of dollars into Nigeria. The only people that we can really determine their behavior or control the metrics is like I&E. People who are actually bringing money to invest, and at some point in time, they need to take dollar out. The regular individuals are only doing it based on demand. So I don't really think that the narrative to say that people are holding back because they feel like the rate is going to go up. If I need to send money to my folks, I'm not going to tell them to hold back for 2 weeks to a month because I think that the rates will go up and favor me. Even if I need to buy a house, I'm not going to do that because...
I hear you. But what if I was building a house, like you said, if I'm buying a house in Nigeria and the rates are going to buy the house with less dollars, won't I wait?
Okay, so if I'm buying a house, the person who is building the house for you, right, is the person going to wait? So if you hire like a mechanic, if you hire like a builder, it's not only your own property that you're doing. If you know that it's going to take a week, I can understand that. But the rationale to lock people down, even if you're building a house, because you think that the rate is going to pick up in 2 weeks' time, you know, those people are not loyal. They're not going to sit and wait for you. If they tell you send money tomorrow and you don't send it.
That's what. If I'm building a house, you don't pay 100%. You pay them as you get money. So if I have $100 with me and know I can get 80K on Monday, and if I send this week I get 70K, I'll wait.
Yeah, I hear you, but I'm just saying I hear you. But in a day or two, they tell you to send money. You don't send money. You're sitting on the dollar because you think it's gonna move. Hey, I don't really know how many people will do that, but I hear you.
Can I respond to that?
No, go for it.
Just really quickly.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So the question was if we said that there was a change in behavior of people sending money back because of the reforms, right? That was the question.
Yep.
And then I said that there was no change in behavior that was significant. That was the response, right? There was no change because people that are sending money back will send money back, right? But we saw more of an uptake on the Naira side. We had more demand for FX on the Naira side as opposed to people on the supply side. Now, when we have data that shows that if you want to send money back to Nigeria, people have different reasons for sending money back to Nigeria. They have we have people sending money back for like family and friends, upkeep. You have guys sending money back just to I guess pay for gifts for their loved ones, things that aren't maybe planned expenditures. I have about 20% sending back for investment. So I have people that actually send money back to Nigeria for things like, as Kado said, yes, building houses, for things like just trying to maybe invest in some kind of cooperative or anything. So these investments have they are required at a particular point. So if I think that my Naira is going to be more in the next 1 week, if I send the money back, maybe I'm supposed to send 20K to this cooperative, and the Naira is going to be more in the next 1 week. I'm actually for that time. So the different reasons for sending money back, would obviously push or drive different behaviors. So obviously, not everyone is going to wait for that, but the people that have the reasons to believe, and they obviously might be wrong or right, can actually wait for their money to actually have, for their dollar to have more Naira value before they send money back. So this just actually speaks to different reasons why people send money back to Nigeria in the first place. Not that it doesn't speak for the general behavior of the typical immigrants sending back money from the diaspora to Nigeria. So I think that's clear to you.
All right.
Okay. I hear you.
Okay. Awesome.
Good job, guys. Good job. Yusuf, what's happening? You've heard of what we're talking about. Where are you coming from? Are you?
Yeah.
Where are you?
Yeah, I am in the UK right now.
Okay. Right. We're finding out from you if the remittances do you send remittances? Has it gone up or down because of the new policy? And then what's your take on really what's happening really or overall?
Yes. I feel we all have fear, and Nigeria we have a multifaceted problem on our hands. What I feel is I've not really been sending money home, and it's not because of I'm trying to hoard my money or because of the upsurge in fee of the rates that we have right now. But what I feel is Nigeria has lots of problems that we need to be solved. There was a time I saw Olumide's tweet, and we've always been saying it. If you say you want to float the Naira, and we still have some of our goods still on the exclusive list, that those kind of things places pressure on the dollar. because those people still have to go into the market to look for those dollars. I worked in a bank before I left, and some of us said these things we paying subsidizing education, putting it somewhere, maybe in the UK economy or anywhere people go to, would definitely hurt us. There was a time I was working in a bank, we remitted over $30 million in 1 week to the UK. $30 million, and that money is not coming back. What's the percentage of people that go outside the country, that come back into the country, that contribute to the real sector? We don't have that figure. So that means we are losing that money. That money isn't coming back. And I also agree with what the last speaker said. We don't have data to support anything that we do that. Okay, when people send money back home, we build houses, we give people. What does it bring to the economy? Are we export driven or we are import driven? We are definitely import driven right now. We need more money to come in. January this year, I went to the Canary Islands. Canary Islands is just maybe a little bit of, maybe let's say landmass. I don't think it will be even up to Southwest Nigeria. They had over 13 million people visiting every year. 13 million people. We have already talked about bringing tourism, showing up our security. When you tell British that, why don't you come to Nigeria? I have to get a visa. We have policies in place that hamper investors' confidence. And also, like what Odumide said, why would I invest my money in Nigeria when I can go to other stable markets and get high yields? Look at the way First Bank shares behaved in just like 3 or 4 days. If I was an investor, would I want to invest my money in that kind of system? No one would do that. But what I think we need to do is our government needs to be sincere. As you rightly said, look at the National Assembly. No one can even prove that kind of people. We arrested the CBN governor. Put this in the market. The market will definitely react. Investors are not stupid. I cannot go to anybody. Look at Turkey. We cannot look at what is happening in Turkey. If you have lots of interference in our monetary policy, we should be spearheaded by the CBN. We have a problem on our hands. We have a system that the fiscal and monetary policy is at loggerheads most of the time. The CBN governor is there. I cannot. No sane investor in this world will invest in Nigeria if I know the person can just come in any day. He doesn't like CBN governor, can just suspend it and put him in detention. We need to find a way to harmonize our policies. We need to, as citizens, have to speak better. There's no way. There's no passport we get. There's no passport. We will still be told we are Nigerians.
True. Like the Seychelles just told us now that we can't travel to Seychelles. Only Nigerians.
Yeah, look at there's nothing we can do.
I mean,
we need to build it. To just cut long story short, we have one problem. It is just one problem. We have a supply issue. If we don't have that supply issue, if we don't solve that supply issue, solve those bottlenecks, we will still continue to have this disparity. What the government will just do maybe little things to just help. There's nothing we need to do. We need to export, and we need those monies to come back into the country. That is the only way that disparity will go. As individuals, we need to find ways of helping the country, bringing in investors into the country. That is just my own humble take. Thank you.
You see me as a humble, loyal Nigerian. I'm doing spaces to drag my diaspora. Why they're not bringing money? See, it's my own contribution to. No, you're laughing, but it's true. See,
it is true
because I know
it is part of it.
Yeah, there are some people that I want people to hear the problem. Because I am the finance guy. I know the CBN policy that they've done to attract diaspora investment is good. They've done the good policies on paper. We also have some things that to me were shocking. You are asking Nigerians to sacrifice, and you are spending 40 billion. You are padding this budget for what's the word, palliatives. It's shocking to me that the optics, they don't know what optics means, and they don't care about timing. I'm not sports space. So I really would like to hear people to talk about really why these policies are not really working for them. That's the way I'm going to. Let's get Millie Shield. I've got Millie Shield. What's up, man? Aren't you? Yeah. Millie Shield, are you not based in Nigeria? You're based in Nigeria, B?
Hello. Good evening, everybody.
Yeah, Millie Shield, hi.
I'm fine. I based outside Nigeria, but I spend a lot of time in Nigeria of late. Each time I come around, I spend like 2 or 3 months because I think it's high time for me to relocate back home. I'm kind of tired of abroad, but lately I'm kind of skeptical about this relocating back home because nothing is improving. Like now, back to the point, I'll be asking a lot of questions that I want people to think about. You may not answer me. It's not necessary for you to answer me, but I'll be asking a lot of questions. Yeah, the first question is, do you that is on this page, do you think that the government we have in Nigeria are serious about Nigeria and Nigerians, either home and abroad? Keep that one side. Do you think they have the mental capacity? Do you think they have the intellectual capacity to change things around? I will be representing people from the street. I'm a bricklayer in Nigeria, a proud one at that. I own an estate. I'm into property. I get contracts from independent people from abroad, people in Nigeria. Yeah, I do contracts, building, self-trained, right? But I represent the illiterate class because I'm a bricklayer. People will look at me as, oh, he's a bricklayer. Oh, let's push him aside. No, right. A lot of people have been talking about this FX thing, a lot of financial, we call it jargons. Not jargons, big grammars. We on the street, we on the construction site, we don't understand this. But the little we understand, we know that you people that are speaking big grammars, the politicians, the elites, we sometimes think that, are you with your senses at all? You want to turn around the country for better? You are not increasing your production. Elementary economies in secondary school, we learn about trade deficit. We learn about trade surplus. How can your currency be strong when you're producing nothing? When your unemployment rate is 33 to 40%, you're not going nowhere. It's not going to happen. Miracle don't do it. You have to go back to production. You have to put your youth back into factories. You have to produce what you consume locally, and you export the excess. I'm an illiterate. I don't consider myself to be learned in finance, but I know the law of demand and supply. Our economy is based on importation. Everything is imported. Toothpick is imported. Pencil is imported. Pen are imported. Clothes are imported. We are based on importation. How do you increase the value of your naira when all your youth with full of energy, they are in the naira bet offices here and there? The girls, they are doing hookups. Nothing is working. I don't know how we think.
I hear you.
Are pretending like everything is okay. It's not okay, and it's not going to be okay. When your National Assembly members woke up, just all of a sudden, I want to go buy billions of naira worth of imported cars while we have innocent there. Man,
so, sir,
this is crazy.
Billy, I hear you.
Yes,
right?
sir.
I think you are expressing the truth of many Nigerians, and nothing you said is wrong. Every Nigerian is an economist. Every Nigerian. I say this all the time on Twitter. Every Nigerian is an economist because we react to policies. The problem is that every Nigerian believes that they are powerless in changing outcomes. That's the problem we have in Nigeria. We all know that the guys buying Jeeps is somehow bad for the economy. Even though we are not trained in finance, we know that if a government official goes and buys 40 billion worth of imported jeeps, it's bad somehow. I don't know, but it's bad. And we also that if they fix the road to my village, it's good for the economy. I don't know how to explain why it's good, but it's good for the economy. So you don't have to be an economist because you have a BSc in economics. You just have to understand common sense. How it doesn't make sense to import petrol when you have crude oil in your country and not fix the refineries. We know all this stuff, we get it. But I want to be a bit, I don't know what's the word, I want to be a bit specific. I want to, if possible, help the government to see sometimes they write these policies and they are floating in the air.
Mr. Kalu, sorry to interject.
And I'm taking your...
Sorry to interject. I made a tweet about a year ago addressing to state governments, to federal government. I kind of take up a role, like you role play a governor. I said, as I'm from Ekiti State, right? I said, as the incoming Ekiti State governor, I'm going to formulate a policy that is going to bring people from the diaspora back to Ekiti State to invest in Ekiti State. I shared this idea with Oluomo and some others. We were supposed to push it a little bit, but we did not. I said, as the governor of the state, I'm going to bring every year 500 diaspora Ekiti citizens back to Ekiti State to invest. They're going to come with their foreign currency to Ekiti State. Whatever your trade is in the abroad, I will create an enabling environment for you to invest in Ekiti State. It is called Diaspora Hall.
No, Millicent, I hear you. I'm going to rotate the room, right? I hear you. I going to rotate the room. And the point I'm trying to get, I'm going to just keep the space specific to this remittances, FX policies. Is it good or bad? Are you bringing this stuff? I completely hear you. I agree with you. I mean, I let you. Yeah. So, Nigerian. Let me put it that way. Let me get, is it Agbo 2? Agbo 2, I've got you on the line. You've got the floor, sir. Go ahead. And please, if I do take you off, it's just because I want to add other people. I'm not taking you off because what you're saying is wrong. So, Agbo 2, you've got the floor, sir. Jibril, please go ahead, Jibril. Agbo is not ready. Jibril Ali, you've got the floor. Go ahead, sir.
Good evening, everyone.
How you doing, sir?
Okay, I'm Jibril Ali from Kaduna State.
Okay.
So, according to what Mil says, he's talking about all the Nigerian people. Most of our leaders, they have selfishness in their mind. They have self-centeredness.
Gotcha. But let me ask you a question: Are you remitting money? Where you based in Nigeria?
Yeah, I'm based in Nigeria. I'm working in Abuja, Nigerian police pension.
Nigerian where?
Police pension, Abuja.
Gotcha. What's your take on the CBN policies? We're trying to talk about the remittance of foreign currency from Nigerians abroad back to Nigeria. We're asking if the new central bank policy is making it better or has no effect. Do you have a take on that, sir?
No, I don't have idea on that. I'm trying to answer a question about what Mil says, but I don't have any idea about that.
Yeah, I do apologize. I just want to keep it on that topic if you don't mind.
Okay.
Yeah, I do appreciate you, sir. All right, sir. So I've got everything, Satoshi. Go ahead, sir.
Hi, guys. I have a question for Olumide, yourself, and then the Kaoshi people. Sure. The first question for Olumide is... I think he was citing the Nairametrics tweet where they were talking about the reduction in remittances. My question is genuinely, and Carl, you can also answer this. Do you think that those numbers are doctored? And does that matter? That's my first question. Although there is a decline, whether or not significant, I shared to some people that tweet, and that was just our question, whether or not those numbers were doctored. And the second question is I think there was someone who was talking about the First Bank shares and the manipulation in the NGX. It doesn't really 100% relate to the FX market, but it sort of does, honestly. I just wanted you to talk about that, the manipulation on there. And then to the Kaoshi people, I did click on the website. So apparently, for the KYC AML, I have to, I needed them to speak on that, whether or not I always had to KYC AML because they're an international company and all of that. And then how do they deal with fees under the hood? What makes it very smooth? Because she spoke about settlement of funds within minutes. Can that get to hours and whatnot in terms of convenience? Yeah, those are my questions.
I'll keep them very, very quick, 10 seconds answer. But I think, why would they doctor the fees? I mean, the fees show the CBN remittances. Why would it be doctored? Because it shows that they are getting less. If you compare what they posted today to what they posted last year, today is less. And I think it's only for Q1. So I think the answer I got was because that was when we had the Naira change policy going on. So lots of foreigners sort of paused because there was no cash in Nigeria. I know many people abroad were saying, I can't send money to my mom in Nigeria because there was no cash. So many Nigerians paused. I think we'll get a better read of that if we to get Q2, Q3 of 2023. Then we'll actually know if the remittance policy has actually changed. So what we're doing here on Twitter Spaces, we're going to compare it 3 months down the line and look and see if there's actually been a change and if the numbers match up with the sentiment that we're speaking about here on Twitter. I'll only talk about the First Bank issue, but I think the First Bank issue is very, very interesting. If normally anywhere in the world when you have a hostile takeover, that's that's a green light for the shares to just go through the roof. And in First Bank we have a hostile takeover happening. So if you want to buy a hot stock, hot means it can go up, it can also come down. That's the stock to buy. If you are too late to the party and you buy now, you're going to get your fingers burnt. But that's what's going on. I don't think it's manipulated there. It's the same time with Transcorp. Remember Transcorp? Hostile takeover bid, the share price went up. If they settle tomorrow, the share is going to fall. So be very careful when you get into those things. So let me know if you have anything to add on the First Bank and if Kyoshi wants to do a quick 30 seconds on the questions.
Okay. Yeah, I'll answer that briefly. I think you answered most of the parts, but what makes it intriguing is that the players involved in the LBNH holding, you need to also look at the top holders there. So while the reports that about Telco bought about over 13% with a total stake of 14%, there are still big players like Kotedola, Rishikola, and Makadinuga also having a combined of about over 20%. So the problem is that those guys are not in support. Then there are other politics going on. EcoBank is saying that you guys, the entity is still owing a lot of money. Then Sanusi, also a former CBN governor, highlighted the fact that EcoBank has a say on this. So all the politics and that, then SEC Nigeria is investigating. So that's why you saw that in a span of 5 days, the share went from 22 naira to 15 naira 80 kobo. So investors ate uncertainty, and the politics around the market is really not clear right now. So I think people felt that we need to take profits off the table, but it's still not an ending battle, still an ongoing. So I think we should just wait and see. But that's what is playing out right now.
Yeah, wait and see, because there are lots of things that are not monetary with that deal. There are lots of things hovering like something around that deal. It's not just the share price or numbers. Other things outside are around that deal. So let's see. Kish, do you want to put in?
Hello, can I clear something? Sorry.
No, can let Kish and just hop in. There's someone that's talking. Yeah, Kish, go.
Thank you. Thank you. Very, very quickly. So yes, we pretty much build this app for the platform for retail end users. So that means put a send 1K and below. But of course, you can send multiple 1Ks if you want. But if you're beginning to do volume, the KYC is very simple. Like typical KYC that's required from every user by typical provider. So like name, address, just phone number, ID. Very simple KYC. So nothing that is really egregious. And also, for the fees, you're able to send money on Kyoshi to Nigeria for as low as less than $1. £1, one card, it's as little as less than that amount of money. So that means that it's really cheap to send money on Kyoshi. That also means that we're able to leverage open banking and open finance, which actually allows us to secure each transfer and makes it as cheap as it is. So that's how we're able to make it that cheap.
Okay.
Hope that's the question.
Yeah. Thanks for that. Yusuf, you want to hop in?
Yeah, I just wanted to answer the person that asked the question. I think everything Satoshi wants to say. So what I mean by our market is not efficient is what investors look at is they look at the market, they look at everything, market forces, look at government policies. So Olympic has answered the question over 90%. When I referenced first bank, what I'm telling you is after that hostile takeover took place, I think SEC or someone said they wanted to change policies that you have to inform CBN. So it's all these kind of inadequacies in our policies that deter people from investing in the Nigerian stock exchange. So at times when investors look at all this kind of news, investors are always wary of adverse news. There are a lot of things that are also in place right now that people look out for before investing. Those are the things that we have not addressed. We need to address if you want our foreign policy, if you want to attract FDI or maybe foreign FPIs into the country. That is why I referenced that first bank issue. Our policies are not aligned according to what is obtainable outside the country. So I, as an investor, would not want to invest if I'm seeing adverse news, I'm seeing those kind of things, and nobody's setting up a clear policy on it. Look at it, we've not had the CBN governor in like 30 or 40 days now. I think we are doing MPC in like few days or few weeks. Who is going to chair the meeting? So it's all these kind of things that people need to talk about. We need to hold people responsible for all this kind of policy. The president should be liable to us and explain why he's doing this kind of things. He has kept mute about it. The market will react. I have seen Olumi dispute about it. The market will definitely react to this kind of things. If we don't set out clear policies to investors and everyone that wants to invest in our country. Thank you.
Yeah. You see the first guy that spoke, the very, very first guy that spoke, name escaped him, from the UK. When you're talking about he's a Nigerian, by birth and all that, he wants to invest in his home country. He doesn't know a lot about Nigeria. That guy are the folks that have the big box, that manage the, should we say, the Bloomberg money, the FPI, the foreign portfolio investment. When those boys sit upon their Bloomberg, they don't know Nigeria from Senegal or from wherever. They are looking for yields. When you plug your Bloomberg button, you pick Nigeria, you see the macro tables, you see your whatever is ticking. You also see news about Nigeria. And in that news, I guarantee you're going to see the central bank governor arrested. Not just arrested, though, because you can get arrested for speeding. Was arrested by the secret police and has not been charged for almost a month. So the central bank governor of the largest economy in Nigeria, in Africa, has been arrested by the secret police for a month, has not been charged to court. Then you want that same guy to now invest £1 billion in bonds. You see, we don't look at these things. We don't understand that Nigeria is now connected. When you make decisions or you make comments, it shows up. I just seen a flash now.
Sorry, just to point out something.
Real quick. The president, I just saw the president now saying that if he is removed, there will be anarchy and chaos. It's just, I just saw it now. The president is saying that if they remove him, if the courts remove him, there will be anarchy and chaos. If I'm holding Nigerian bond, for crying out loud, explain to me why I will not sell it. When you make statements as the president of the largest economy in Africa, it's recorded, it's already on the wire. The president of Nigeria says that if you remove for not scoring 25% of votes in the FCT, there will be chaos and anarchy. This is the president of Nigeria speaking. So, sometimes you want to help because it's the responsible thing to do. But these guys are just irresponsible. And I'm being polite. How can you make that sort of statement? How can you make that sort of statement? Okay. Olumide, real quick. You had a quick.
Yeah, just want to take a point, because, from your submission, just a point of correction. So, Gordon Finney has been charged to court.
So he was just charged this week? He was
charged to court for an illegal possession of a firearm. That's the reason he was charged to court. The SSS told us so many things. This man has been in custody for over 30 days, and all you can get against him is being charged to court for the possession of an illegal firearm. So sometimes you look at Nigeria, we're just like a total joke. We're an embarrassment.
I don't, as I say in Nigeria, I don't send Emefiele. I've spoken about him on Twitter. My position on him is very clear. But you can't take the central bank governor of the largest economy in Africa, put him in jail, and not charge him for 30 days. They now charge him after 2 days for holding a gun. You don't do that. We can do things better. This guy's supposed to be the change from the Buhari regime. Buhari regime does this as par for course, not this guy. This guy's supposed to be better. Mr. LB, what's happening? Mr. LB?
Hey, Mr. Kalu. Yeah, good evening, everyone. So I listened to your question about why remittances, maybe our own thoughts on why remittances are low, and here are my own thoughts. First thing is, I think we are not taking into consideration how many people have actually left. Right? Maybe the middle class that have been like migrating so far. The middle class, maybe in my own thoughts, used to be the people that have like those friends abroad that would have those like, guys that people send money to. Another class is people that are in tech, like me, that work and then get like being paid like in foreign currencies, and majority have taken this opportunity provided by the UK to leave the country. So that's another factor that I think is contributing to it. And then the one that might contribute to it going forward again is I used to work in a bank where I was an engineer, and I built IMTOs, which I think you're familiar with, Mr. Kalu. And one of my boss just called me this evening, and then they said there's a CBN circular now that the banks want to enforce when my dollar comes in, they convert it to Naira. And I'm trying to explain to him that there's no way you guys should do that. It was actually asking because I built the system earlier before. Like, there's no way you guys should do that, because why would someone send me money and then you guys would decide to, like, convert my dollar to Naira? You see, so policies like that might still affect this inflow of remittances. And then another thing is the strictness of how our remittances system are for the end users. I'm not even going to talk about the I&E windows whereby the big box coming. Talking about the areas whereby the common man maybe wants to get something or wants to trade in the FX, and we have to go through the unconventional route, and this makes it very difficult. So right now, instead of guys looking at bringing in money, instead we are exporting our Naira the more. So for instance, I need to get something from Amazon. I will still go and buy the dollar using all these our new fintech apps, and then so those are some of the things that I think are affecting these remittances from my own point of view. And then in terms of what these governments can do well, you have always said it in some of your tweets. If we don't import, if we don't produce, if we don't export or we don't produce or we don't start looking very good in the eye of the world, then there's nothing that we can do actually. It's not as if we are preaching, we are saying bad omen for the country. We want this country to work because, man, I don't think there's anywhere you would feel okay in life than where you can either speak your language properly or be among your kins. But at the end of the day, we have to be actually very realistic about where our country is at the moment and know that, okay, see, these guys are not going to change anything. Like you talk about optics. They are not even doing anything about optics, right? Instead, they are bringing in policies that looks as if, how will I put it, if we can go and suffer, then we still get fattened up. Go to Abuja, you will see how they are living, right? You see plenty government houses looking like mansions owned by superstars, right? Yeah. And then you wonder where we are going to. So that's my own contribution. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm mindful about the Abuja market that the homes are empty. You literally can drive past them.
Yes. I was in Asokoro like a couple of weeks back, and you will be shocked. You'll be shocked how empty, because how many people actually afford renting homes in Asokoro?
No, it's not even right? That. It's not a question of can afford. They convert the cash to homes, then they lock it up. It's their way of putting money in the bank, because they don't want to put money in the bank because of EFCC. So they build a housing estate, they lock it up because the value of the house cannot fall. So you want to ask yourself, what are we doing about property taxes? You can't hide the property. Go to the property, go there, put a table there and say, who is the owner of this house? Who is the owner? If the owner does not come, sell the house. If the owner comes, charge him back. But they don't do it because they own the home, so they don't tax that. But they will come and tax PMS and kerosene that people in my village use. They can tax that. But no one's going to do property tax in Abuja. You can't hide a house. Go to the house, number 15 at Jebunle Street. Who owns this home? You don't have an owner, charge it BOJ. And then the government takes the rent. Since no one owns the home, the government will rent it out and take the rent. End of story, but they won't do it. All right, I've called you before, sir. Agbo 2. Agbo, I don't know if you're here, sir. Mr. Agbo? Mr. Bikunle, how you doing, sir? Please go ahead. Bikunle M. Imam. Mr. Ibikunle, you've got the floor. Oh, man. Let's get Mayowa Tijani. Mayowa Tijani, you've got the floor. Hey, folks, you want to speak? You want to stay near your mic? Is it me? Olumide, can you hear me?
Loud and clear, loud and clear.
Oh, wait. Ibikunle, you've finally got the floor. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, so basically, I'm based in Nigeria. I run my own small IT consulting firm. Basically, not self-employed. The rates that people are done, basically, I have to pay for hosting, maybe the training or something. So basically, what it means, I also have to get dollars to buy those services or get those services provided. So the rates change. It affects me both negative and positive. If I have a job outside that pays me the USD or pounds, I'm happy. But the funny thing now is that cost in Nigeria, things are more expensive in Nigeria for people like me. So which makes it very, very tight. I'm just calculating.
You have friends abroad.
There's our friends abroad. So I get inflow. Like the inflow changed last month, and because of the change in the rates, the person probably says going to be regularly pays in pounds. So I wonder that this has changed. I want to realize that because the pound is much better than the dollar, and when they convert to dollar, I get more. That's the basic thing. But apart from that, the issue is providing services in Nigeria now. That's really a major problem for me right now. I just sent it. My question
is that in terms of remittances that you receive, do you have friends that send you remittances? Do you have anyone that sends money home to you? Have you seen it?
I have one. I have someone, but I say remittance changed slightly because he is in UK, so he sends me pounds, which I get paid in dollars, so I get slightly more. But it's still saying the same amount of pounds. But since pounds is much stronger than dollar now, I get slightly more dollars. That's the only thing.
Okay. All right. Good job. I hear you. Yeah, thanks for hopping in. Let me get Adedayo, QC and PR, supply chain analyst. Love to hear that. Is that Adeda? What's up? Hey, what's happening?
Good evening, everyone.
Based, sir. UK, is it Europe, Americas, Asia? Where's that?
I'm currently based in the UK.
Okay.
Yeah. Though I joined a bit late, I just wanted to share my own experience, with remittance and all that recently. I've got a couple of friends that wanted to invest in real estate in Nigeria. I think they all wanted to get some land in some very good areas in Lagos, somewhere around a belt there about. Then one of them changed pounds to naira. I think it was about 1,000 then, and it changed about 10,000 pounds, which was about 10 million. Then a few days later, just about 2 days later, that same 1,000 naira per pound changed to about 1,046. And you just look at it, it's just 46 naira. But 46 naira times 10,000 pounds, as of that day, when we checked, was about, I think, 460,000. And one of them said, if I just waited, I could have made extra 46,000 naira, and that would have gone, a long way in doing one or two things. My point is just to, agree to what someone said earlier about these exchange rates affecting investments in Nigeria. Some people would want to wait if time is on their side, and those that don't have time on their side, if they have, an investment that they need to make as fast as possible, they will do that. But that goes a long way to tell you how, the Naira has performed so badly, and some investors are even scared. Now, let's even put that aside. Other factors like the kidnapping and some other socio-political issues have scared people from taking out of their money that they've earned in very diverse ways, like stressful ways in the UK or other parts of Europe, to invest in Nigeria. And that's the fear we have. So if there are policies that the Nigerian government or CBN can make just to encourage people, of course, remittances or transfers back to Nigeria would also increase, which one way or the other would help us. I mean, those that want to invest in real estate, they might not employ a lot of people, but those people that will be working on those sites would definitely be pleased that something is coming back to Nigeria and they are making money from it. So the factors and the issues affecting Nigeria are so big that we as young people, learned people, all need to come together and say, have a voice against it and look for ways to help sensitize young people to make good decisions. Even people that talking about politics now, people supporting APC and all that, they know the truth. They know the mistakes this government have made. They know the truth about some of the mistakes Buhari also made in terms of economic policies. But they don't want to say the truth because they want to be partisan in politics. Irrespective of the party you're supporting or which side you are, you should be able to say the truth always. And these things are glaring. These things are things that we see every day. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, I was having a conversation with a friend, and he was so happy that pounds was performing well against the Naira. And I was telling him, I said, if pounds gets to 2,000, of course you can be happy because you have more money to send back home. But it will also affect the economy back in Nigeria. Things you used to get with 1,000 Naira, you won't be able to get it with the same 2,000 Naira you just changed. So why should you be happy that, the Naira is performing badly? And these are some of the simple things that people don't understand. And so many times I see Mr. Carlo put up posts, things that we should learn from, and at least little research would go a long way in helping you know the truth from what is wrong. But you see people come on those streets that are as simple as possible, and they'll say, no, they will talk from the standpoint of politics because they're on a particular side. These things are neutral. When you make a wrong policy, irrespective of being APC or PDP or Labour Party, it will affect you. So these are things we need to discuss daily. Let us begin to sensitize people, and hopefully one day we can all see positive results. That's my contribution for now.
I just wanted to be clear, right? Just to be clear with you, right? So in terms of the remittances, do you think it has gone up or down, or just your view and your friends? What do you guys think?
No, from my own view, I think it has gone up. I'm part of the student group in Northampton, and trust me, almost every day we've got loads of students, changing money, changing pounds to Naira. Although they've all have their own reasons, but the fact that the Naira is performing badly, if I change 1,000 pounds to Naira now, it's about 1,150,000. Compared to like 900,000. So that extra 150 will go a long way for a young person, especially a student. He or she can solve one or two things in Nigeria. So from my own perspective, judging from what I've seen in a few weeks now, I think remittances has gone up.
So can I stretch you to say, do you think that's gone up because of the policy, or it's just gone up because there's just a bit more demand from the folks back home? Can I stretch you to answer that?
I think it's just as a result of demands from people back home. I mean, price of crude oil, price of petrol and other things have really gone up. So there's also a lot of pressure on the people in the UK. If you have family members in Nigeria, if they were requesting for 50k from you, I'm definitely sure one way or the other that would have increased due to the rates of inflation in the country right now. So it's not because, of course, the policy too has encouraged that. They've made terrible policies so terrible policies, and people have been forced to need more money in Nigeria, and who can they rely on when you don't have enough jobs? People can't even go to work because of fuel or transportation costs. The whole pressure falls back on the people in diaspora, and they're all forced to change their foreign currencies to Naira to support their people back home.
So I mean, that's an interesting comment you're making, that because of the issues in Nigeria, remittances are going up, not only because of the policy per se, but people are solving more problems. So there's more social welfare remittances happening. Interesting. Yeah. Very interesting. All right, let's get Ajibola. Thanks for that. Ajibola 754. What's up, man? Ajibola?
Good evening, Mr. Kalu. I'm a big fan of yours. I enjoy your spaces and your tweets.
Thank you, sir.
But this is where I'll be coming from. Mr. Kalu, I want to ask you a question, please. The Nigerian FX reform, do you believe as a person that the reform, by floating the Naira, the reform done in the FX market, do you believe is enough to bring money, inflow of dollars from foreign countries? Do you as a person believe it's enough to bring an increase or an huge inflow of foreign currency from foreign countries into Nigeria? Please,
look at it this way. Look, before what you if you can mute, go ahead and mute.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, in the past, you could not price the economy appropriately in the past. What I mean is this: because you had dollar at 463, it wasn't the real price. So if you import things in the country, you are operating at a subsidy that you cannot cost appropriately. Companies cannot plan. Are they going to buy at 463 or 700? Look at the airlines. They were selling tickets at 463, but they can't get their dollars out of Nigeria. So in the past, we cannot or we could not continue like that. What they've done now is to say they're going to open up the market to willing buyer, willing seller, which means, like many people have said here, if I send $1 to Nigeria, I am getting the same price that you get on the street. Yes, there will be plus and minus, but you are getting almost the same price as you get on the street. So we haven't changed anything. What we've done is we've taken off the subsidy on dollar, so that if I am still sending money, remember that I still send money through Kiyoshi. When I send money through Kiyoshi, I'm doing P2P. People are buying my dollars based on the demand. I sell to them based on their bidding to me. I am not selling at 463. I am selling at the real market price. So all they've done now is to say, whatever I'm doing on P2P, do it on the official channels. That's all they've done. So if remittances are going to go up or down, it's going to go up. Because now I know if I send through the CBN in code channel, I get more money at Jibola. That's what they've done. Right? So if you have a follow-up, go ahead.
So you're saying that because they removed those obstacles that involves having two parallel markets, that they have a single market, you feel that people will now start sending more money to Nigeria. That is what you're trying to say.
People already spend not true. So what they've done is they've taken away the advantage that the private sector had and said, okay, we in CBN are no longer going to set a price for dollar. So if I was sending money through an app like Kiyoshi, I wasn't going, if I was sending money through other means, I didn't go through central bank. Now I can go through my bank or even through an app and get the same price as on the streets of Aba. That's what they're trying to say.
So, sorry, Mr. Kalu. When we talk about the stock market, how it's regulated, the prices that is there, it depends on the inflow and the outflow of the dollar and the naira. So, if we have more dollars coming into the economy, then we expect the dollar, the naira to also appreciate, then the dollar to depreciate.
Correct.
You understand? So, what this thing is simply telling us that the so-called FS forex market, it is not enough. There are other factors that have to be in place for the FX market to really, for you to see the impact of the FX market?
Yeah, that's what we're saying. We are saying that that's what they are saying, that the country are not practicing FX. Removed the impediment. What more needs to happen? You simply cannot remove just the impediment and then their country will see a boom. That's what we're saying. There has to be more. For instance, you talk about kidnapping. You've heard everyone say kidnapping on the farms. You've heard them say inconsistent policies. But if you remove the kidnapping on the farms, if you remove the policies and you leave in the double exchange rate, the Naira dollar will not flow through CBN. It will still flow to Nigeria, but not the CBN. Do you get the point I'm making? What they've done today allows dollars to flow through the CBN. If they don't do it, dollars will flow to Nigeria, but not to the CBN. That's the clarification. Does that make sense, Jibola?
Yes, sir. So the floating of the forex market is just making it available for the common man. It is not really having an impact on the investors, because the investors.
I'm not sure where you're going with this. Look at what I'm saying, right? The economy itself, the dollars that are going to come to Nigeria are still coming to Nigeria. All the CBN is trying to do, right, is to say, send it through us. In the past, they were paying you Naira if you send dollars to the central bank. They were paying you Naira, $10 or so, RSs, I don't know what they called it, for you to encourage you to send your money to the CBN. Dollars are still coming into Nigeria, but it's not going to the central bank. We have dollars in Nigerian banks in dorm accounts. Those dollars are not owned by the CBN. They are owned by Nigerians. It's not part of your FX reserve. So if you look at the CBN FX reserves, it is still below 50 billion. The central bank wants to boost that FX reserve to maybe 100 or 200 billion. How can they do this? They have to devalue and depreciate the exchange rate to attract FPI to come in. And you've heard the foreigners even tell the central bank, we want you to do more depreciation before we can consider bringing dollars in. Olympia has told you that if you go to the UK today and you invest in the UK market, you're getting 5% minimum. That's the rate in the UK, 5%. If you go to America and you invest money in America, you're getting about 4% if you do a treasury, what's it called, a circle of deposit in the US. 4%. Apple Pay is paying you 4%. On your app, on your phone, 4%. So for Nigeria to compete, Nigeria has got to do 4% plus. 4% plus. That's what's going on. So if we don't devalue, money won't come. So the argument you're making is to say what we're doing is not working. But if you don't do it, if you don't do that necessary step, no money will come at all. It's like saying Naira is 100 Naira to $1. Nobody's going to bring Naira to your country, even if you have security and infrastructure. Nobody will bring money to your country. Does that make sense? Do you get the point, Jibola?
Yeah, I get your point. But I want to say something. Can you permit me to give an example now? I work with Coca-Cola. I'm a salesperson with Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola used to buy some of their raw materials at the official rate. But now, after the floating of the Naira, they buy at the new official rate. That's the floating of the FX market now. Now, that has led to an increase in price of our products. And that has led to lesser purchasing power for Nigerians. Like, people are not really buying into our products again now, for now. They are going for the cheaper ones. So people are going for Zobo and, what's it called? Like Zobo and Kunu. That's the alternative now. Now, when Tinubu came in, he removed oil subsidy. That was the first thing he did. There was subsidy on oil. He removed it. Then the FX market. Me, as a person, I was looking at why not hold still on the FX market first, remove subsidy on oil, let people see what the money you've removed on the subsidy of oil, let people see how much you've invested into the economy. Let people see the impact that has done in the economy. When people now start seeing the gain, then you now move to the FX market. Then you move subsidy on the FX market. Then you see that by the time those policies that are in place now in the FX market, you will see a rapid decrease. Then you now see a huge inflow of the dollar, because now the money you've seen on subsidy, you've invested it heavily in the economy. roads, agriculture, you put, because we have to still look at the critical sectors of the economy, of Nigerian economy, that are using the FX, the Coca-Cola, the Dangote, most of those guys. Now, most of those critical sectors now, they are finding hard to trade in Nigeria now. They are even Coca-Cola, they are finding that they have to keep increasing price, and they have to keep increasing their prices, and people are not buying. And at the long run, these companies might later be declaring lost.
Yeah.
They will later declare loss. Now, tell me, which other companies that is saying all these things abroad will say you want to come and invest in that economy?
I hear you.
That is a problem. That is a problem.
I hear you. But I want you to understand something, right? The point is this. Can you beautifully? The point is that in Nigeria, when you have dollar at 4.63, like you rightly said, it's artificial. So when you say Coke was selling because the government was subsidizing Forex. Now you've taken away that subsidy. Coke is no longer affordable to Nigerians because Nigerians can't afford Coca-Cola. So what will the economy do? Nigerians are now going to invent their own local drink. That's how you have local Nigerian drinks that are not imported. If Coke wants to survive in Nigeria, they have to go back and start to use Nigerian sugar from Nigeria that is not FX based. That's the way the economies work. Because the subsidy, if you keep the subsidy on imports, then everybody will import and the local production will never happen. So I'm agreeing with you that the presidency, the rush to remove the subsidy on petrol and dollars, perhaps it was rushed, but they had to remove it because if they don't remove it in a rush, the economy cannot price itself. The economy is import-based. So we have to go from the import base that is taking away our dollars to a production base. That's what they are trying to do. I would say that the subsidy should have gone immediately, but then the palliative should come immediately. You can't subsidize petrol and subsidize dollars in the economy. You are simply doing what you're saying. You are subsidizing imports. Now, Coke will sit down. Remember, there was a time in Nigeria where beer was made with imported components, maybe imported wheat, imported barley. Now, beer in Nigeria is made with local products. You've got to go back to Coke and say, what do we import in Coke Nigeria? And what can we get from Nigeria to avoid the Forex? If you can't do that,
Secondly, see, the problem is we don't have sufficient sugar. We don't have sufficient sugar in Nigeria that can sustain. As I'm talking to you now, the federal government gave the license of importation of sugar to Dangote.
That means that Nigerians can't afford it. That's what it means. We can't afford it. If you subsidize Coke, we are subsidizing this lifestyle we can't afford. I'm not trying to be cool. I'm just telling you. It's like a Lamborghini. If you say Lamborghini, you make it one-to-one. Nigerians would import Lamborghini. Then you say, if you take away the subsidy, we can't afford Lamborghinis anymore. We can't afford it. So if we can't afford imported sugar, what do? We go back to what we drink locally. Maybe we'll start doing palm wine Coke or cassava something Coke, or we'll take sugar from cassava and make Coke. That's what needs to happen. There is no way you can import sugar at a subsidized price. If we can't afford it, we can't afford it. End of story, Ajibola. It sounds cool, but that's how it operates. Look at Sri Lanka. That's what's going to happen if we keep on importing stuff you can't afford because your forex or your wealth in your country cannot absorb it. Wages are low. Nigeria is not a very, very rich country. And that's what our eyes are clearing now. When you take away those subsidies, we now see that, wow, we really can't afford this. Someone said traffic in Lekki is down. Why? No cars. So we're driving cars on very, very cheap petrol. People say we have crude oil, let's subsidize it. Okay, go ahead and do that. If you have the money, subsidize it. If you don't have the money, you can't subsidize it. It's really as cold as that, Jibola. Malik, Olu Malik, you got the floor, sir. Ola Malik.
It's Ola Malik, Mr. Carl. How are you?
Fine.
Yeah, 3 points for me. Number one, I remember vividly, sometimes all through last year and the start of this year, you were agitating for the float of the Naira and the removal of the subsidy, which I think this present administration have done as soon as they got into power. So we need to give them credit for that.
I have given them credits.
Yeah, I know.
And I've got into a lot of trouble on Twitter for doing that.
Yeah, I know that as well. I know that. Also, number two, talking about remittance from the diaspora to Nigeria. I live in the UK, and I've been in the UK for going to 18 years now. And one of your earliest caller was saying that he got into the UK last year or thereabout, and all the people he came across with telling him to invest in Nigeria, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. Fine. But you cannot compare yourself. I mean, you can't say because you just going to the UK last year, people are telling you not to invest in Nigeria. You can't compare yourself with myself and plenty of my friends or relatives that I know that have been in the UK going to 20 years, right? We've got loads of investment back home in Nigeria. I just got back from Nigeria last week, and I went to. I've got some project going on that I finished. I've got another one going on, and I'm going to that stage of tiling now. So I went to this massive tiling market in Lagos. People call it Orile, they call it Orile side or Suru Alaba, I don't know. So I went to that side to see some ties. And then when I got to this warehouse, and then I asked them I want some 60 by 60 ties for the floors and the walls. And they were bringing out products, blah, blah. And I asked the guy that was selling there about two of them. I said, guy, why is it that you're bringing all these foreign ties? Why are you not bringing out the made in Nigerian ties? And they were like, that's very rare for people to come here and ask for Nigerian ties. I said, what's wrong with Nigerian ties? They were like, people like the Spanish ties, Chinese ties, Indian ties. I said, no. Did you think that's a favor to the economy? You need to market made in Nigerian ties to your customers, regardless of anything. Forget about all these foreign ties that you're bringing in. The more people are buying these foreign ties, the more this money is going back to these foreign companies, foreign countries. We need to start patronizing what belongs to Nigeria. So at the end of the day, I spoke to the guys and they were exchanging contact and everything, and I chose the Nigerian ties that I wanted to go for. And then in terms of sending money back home, I can tell you for a fact that people I know, and even I went to some places yesterday, 2 places yesterday, and people were still saying that the rate they are sending money back home compared to before is on a high level now. It's increased. People are sending money back home because you can't compare someone like me that's staying here for like 18 years now. And where I'm working presently, we all know that there's challenges in this country and there's barriers. There's a level to where you can get to. My place of work now, I'm really, really pushing to get to a certain level and to a senior role, which I'm entitled to, which I'm qualified to, not entitled to, which I'm qualified. And they know it, but they won't give it to you.
No, I'm asking, how do you know that people are sending money home?
That's what I just said to you now. I've got my families and relatives. I've got friends that we've been here for more than 15, 17, 18 years. We've got huge projects going on back home. I've got friends in South Africa, they are sending money back home seriously. I've got friends in the States, they are sending money back home. Because they've been in the Western world for so long. After a while, you want to go back home. There's no place like home. We all know all the things that is happening back home. Are we where we're supposed to be as a country? No. Are we progressing? Yes.
Okay, and they're sending money back home because of the specific policy of the devaluation and all that.
Of course.
Okay.
Of course.
So the point I'm making is, again, if you look at the gentleman that spoke about, that is reality, and this is also your reality, right? So both of you have realities that are both be correct, could both be wrong, but both those are two realities speaking, and both are correct in my view, right? But again, just like everyone has to speak to what they know of. That's just where I want to put that in. So back to the Nigerian tile example you gave. Was a Nigerian tile in terms of quality as good as an imported tile?
Mr. Kanu, I'll give you another good example. There's a tiles in Nigeria now. It's as good as the Spanish tiles. We all know the super polished tiles, the Spanish one. That's the high grade. And the Chinese and the Indian, super polished tiles. There's a company in Nigeria, an Italian company, that went to Nigeria in Ogun State, set up their factory in Ogun State, and they are producing in Ogun State. Mm. And the rate they are selling at is the same with made in Nigerian ties. Mm. And the quality is still there, the same thing, the same quality, even more quality than the Spanish ties. You can't even differentiate them. Mm. And the Spanish ties.
What was the name of the just as a shot? In case folks want to know, do you have?
Sorry?
What's the name of the company? Do you have that offhand?
Veroni.
Gotcha. And then Ogun State.
Sorry?
In Ogun State.
Okay,
good point. I mean, only just the point I like you're making is this, right? When you do business, right, and you have a change in the business environment, then the company has got to change. Structural adjustment program has a very, very bad rap attached to it. But what it is that Nigeria got a lot of money, dollars, when we were at 1960, 1970. We became very rich. We were importing everything. It occurred to me a while back that when I was growing up, everything I ate was imported. Treetop, sardines, bread, everything we ate in Nigeria. You go to Leventis and you buy it. It was imported. There was no one talking of imports then. It wasn't a thing people thought about. What's import? You just import Blue Band, you eat with your imported bread, and you go to school with your imported butter in your imported car. But when the economy crashed in the 1979s, you had austerity under Shagari, then you had the structural adjustment program. In fact, Nigeria was telling the Nigerians we have to start to manufacture locally because we can no longer afford to import these things. That's what's going on right now again. We've got to a stage where we've had, I don't want to pass place, but the reality today, I've talked about today, is that the country cannot afford imports today. And the country has got to step back and take a deeper look and say, what can we import?
Sorry to cut you, Mr. Aja. So can I go ahead?
Go ahead.
Yeah. Back to this building material stuff I was talking about, I spoke about the ties. Even the doors. Look at the doors we're using today. All Turkish door, imported doors. If you do your research very well, if you are patient enough, the problem is a lot of us are not on ground. Those of us in diaspora are building back home. But go and look at the guys back home. Go and look at how they are building. Go and look at the quality of things, those of them on ground. They will find a reliable and a good joiner that will put a proper HG health wood together and come out with a 4-foot, 3-foot, nice doors. Even mahogany doors. They will buy the local materials and they will put it together and mount it there for them.
I get you, Ola. And the point I'm making with the local production is that we can only do local production when local costs fall. So while it has to be that we've taken away the subsidy on the Naira, that savings should have gone to invest in the local economy. What I expect to see from the president was announcement of a massive capital investment in getting the costs of production in Nigeria to fall. Power, roads. If you can get the cost of production in Nigeria to fall, then the gentleman Ajebola is talking about production of sugar. Coke can then run without paying for diesel and then use that sales from diesel to perhaps import sugar from Brazil. But when you have local cost of production high and does not come down, then you remove the subsidy on petrol and dollar, then it's counterproductive. You can't have it both ways. The government cannot eat its cake and have it. The government cannot remove subsidy on dollar, then go ahead and not invest that subsidy that she moved in the same economy to reduce the cost of doing business. That's where they have failed. Look at the 10-step plan they have outlined on the palliatives. You don't really see a big push to say we're going to address cost of production locally in Nigeria. Power, roads, insecurity. Focus on those guys, then the local SMEs can then replace the import. Otherwise, we're wasting our time. Olu, thanks. I got to move on. Thank you so much.
Mr. Kam, just 1 second quickly. Mr. Ola, where are you based in the UK, sir? Mr. Ola?
Sorry?
Where are you based in the UK, sir?
I just moved to Birmingham from London.
Okay, great. Okay. Are you part of the Nigerians in the UK community?
No.
Okay, so if you're Nigerian in the UK, we have a wonderful Nigerians in the UK community. I'm going to put on the Jumbotron, so feel free to join. I mean, I love some of your perspectives, some of your submissions, and I think someone like you should be part of the Nigerian community. You can come and educate us, and of course, the fact that you're in Birmingham, we're even having a Nigerian UK summer hangout in Birmingham on the 12th of August. So, but I will send you a DM and then take it from there. You can join the conversation. Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Cheers. Naira means. Hey guys, just to review the room, we've been talking about close to 2 hours now on the new Nigeria policy that the Central Bank of Nigeria has passed. The summary is that they want to attract supply back to Nigeria, so they liberalize the rates. It's now market driven. They've asked the DOM account, should we say, policy should be liberalized as well. So you don't have any $10,000 limiting anymore. You can get paid in dollars. You can get paid in naira. They are targeting remittances from the diaspora. That's the easiest thing that they can target. They wanted to come in to support the policies that they have also passed on the naira exchange rate. The problem is always supply. If the policies are passed and there's no supply, then the policy will not work. So we are looking for supply. And the whole idea of the space today is to say what is going on. The data shows that Q1 supply has not yet picked up. And we're trying to front-run the data that will come out in Q2, Q3, and say, okay, are we doing the right things? So far, it's been a mixed bag of people saying, yes, they like the policy, and no, the policy is good, but it hasn't affected them anyway. But still, let's keep on talking. So I got Naira. Naira means, I don't know if you're able to unmute and speak, sir. Naira means, please go ahead. Naira means it's not there. Let's get Kabir. Kabir A. Bello. Thank you, sir. You've got your hand up. Please go ahead. Kabir A. Bello.
Good evening, everyone.
How are you doing, sir?
I'm fine. So, with regards to remittance, there are a lot of things we have to, first of all, look at. I can say maybe the last time Nigeria has a very high remittance was in 2018. And since 2018, which you are very well aware of, our remittance has been dwindling low. Now, there are so many reasons. The issue is remittance is not changing in Nigeria. A lot of people are still sending money back home. But the issue is there are a lot of informal sectors whereby people are sending money now. Informal sectors that can never be captured, just like as we have black money in the economy that can never be accounted for when we are calculating GNP, GDP, and every other economic index. So the same thing goes to the remittance we have now. There are a lot of informal sectors that you can, remit money from abroad now. And a lot of these informal sectors are kind of easily accessible. They are kind of cost effective for people because every time that a lot of Nigerians send money abroad, they look at a lot of reasons. People want to get more money, more cash, and people also look at, easy assets. And when you have a government regulation that has a lot of bottleneck, these are the reasons why a lot of people are going using all these informal sectors like all this application. Even people use carrier. When I see somebody coming from UK, they can, give that person cash to stuff it in their bag and bring back home. Those are part of the informal sectors. That kind of money can never be accounted for. But the issue is, it's not because the remittance in Nigeria is getting low, but the issue is the informal sectors is receiving a lot of remittance that can never be accounted for. And we can only account for what passes through the banks. And what passes through the banks and central banks. Anything outside that, it can never be accounted for. And I think that's the reason why we are saying that, the remittance is, the supply of remittance is low because they are with currencies. A lot of people are using digital currencies to remit money back home. And all of these sectors, they are not put in place when we are calculating what is the Q1, Q2 remittance flow. So another thing I want to say is, which you also addressed, is the concept of how Naira was floated. I think you are very right when you said that when you leave Naira to be floated, an organization or a company or abroad that is coming to invest, or even within Nigeria, can easily sit down and calculate and predict how much they will spend their budget, unlike before, whereby everything is subsidized. Maybe a lot of Nigerians does not understand the concept of subsidy. Nigerians see subsidies from the concept of petroleum alone. I can tell you that average Nigerian sees it from that aspect. When you talk of subsidy, the first thing an average Nigerian will think about is petroleum. But the issue is, like you said before, subsidy is actually, every part of our economy. Because when you subsidize the exchange rate, you give the exchange rate around 400 and something naira, which, like you said, is artificial. and you have companies like Coca-Cola taking all these forex. That means that everybody that is buying Coca-Cola is buying a subsidized drink. Anybody that is buying anything from Dangote is buying subsidized goods from them. So a lot of this has happened in the past. And having a floated naira will create more opportunities, because the issue is we have what we call import inflation in Nigeria. Import inflation from the aspect of, like you said, we like to consume, we are not productive. And when we don't productive, or we are not productive, we have to import a lot of things from outside the world.
Can I just, I'm so sorry to interrupt.
Okay, all right. Okay, no problem.
I think Nigerians are very, very productive. But I think the problem is that it's cheaper to import. Because if you look at text, right, it's cheaper to go to China. Let's take rice. It's cheaper to go to Thailand or India, buy rice, put it on a ship, sail the ship from India or Thailand to Nigeria, clear it. It's cheaper. That rice would land in Lagos cheaper than making rice in Kebbi State. So
yes,
unless you if you don't fix that right, there's no point in growing rice in Kebbi if it's cheaper in India, plus the dollar, plus the insurance, plus the freight to bring to Nigeria. So the problem is that the cost of producing stuff in Nigeria is just too expensive. So Nigerians are hard workers, but you can't compete against countries that have power supply.
You're right. You've said it all. We have competitive advantage, and when you are looking at international trade, every country we have to produce goods and services at which they have a lot of competitive advantage. Right. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So you are very correct. But the issue is, at this stage that we lack a lot of resources that will put us at a competitive advantage, because number one, resources is human capital. We have it, right? But the issue is, when we are even talking of human capital, we also have to look at it. It's not just about the number of populations that you have. You also have to look at the skill set. Do you know that one of those things that consume most of our FX comes from raw materials and high-tech industrial tools that are not even being made here in the country? Because if we have a lot of these companies, because if you have Coca-Cola, there are some turbines. We have people like the guy that said he was in Coca-Cola. There are some turbines in Coca-Cola that can never be repaired here. You have to, as much as you want to ship some turbine back to where you get it from for them to repair. And also when you have organizations too, you want to get new hardware, they have to still take FX to get all of these. All of these affect our FX. So we look at raw materials, and we look at fixed assets, because we don't look at the aspect of fixed assets and raw materials most times when we look at productions. And even when we look at production and we look at circular flow of income, these are factors that always affect a lot of things when we are talking of import inflation, number one. And also, when we look at the concept of Naira being floated.
You go land the ship.
Hello?
Okay. Land the ship. Okay. Go land the ship. Yeah.
Okay. So, I don't want to stop too much. Don't let me take your time. But another thing I want to say is, as much as no matter how much Nigerians would see that, okay, Naira has been floated and it is affecting the average Nigerians and every other thing. But the issue is, when we leave Naira, we cut Naira loose. That is, let the forces of supply and demand, let it determine whatsoever is going to determine. And this, one of the importance of doing that is, it brings, it increased exports. Because the issue is, it increases export and it increases foreign direct investment, because a lot of foreigners will be willing to bring their money to the country because of our weaker currency. That's why you look at countries like South Korea, you look at Japan. Sometimes we sit down and look at, why is this country currency weak? But they deliberately want it that way because it has an advantage for them. But okay, you want to say something?
No, just I'm going to move the room around. I got you. I'm going to move the room around. Good point. Just to make the point.
Okay. Okay.
Lagos to New York or Lagos to UK plane ticket is almost double the price than if you go to Accra to London. So Accra to London, Lagos to London is cheaper in Accra. But it's not really cheaper in Accra because in government in Ghana does not hold back the payments to the international airlines. Why it's expensive in Nigeria is because Nigeria does not pay the airlines on time. So they've got to factor into your Nigerian ticket cost the cost of them not getting paid back on time, the cost of that capital, you are paying for it. So your ticket price to get to London from Lagos incorporates the fact that the Central Bank of Nigeria will not pay them their remittances immediately. Hence, they are making you pay for the lack of dollars in Nigeria. This is how it affects everyone. This is why we have to take away those subsidies that we saw us take away. If you keep the subsidy at $4.68 and you say, wow, I'm going to buy a ticket using $4.68, you pay back with a higher ticket price. This is a same example with the Coca-Cola guy. When you subsidize your Naira at $4.68, you think that food is really cheap in Nigeria. It's really expensive because you have to then pay back very imported inflation because that's not the real price. So just give you guys you can't dodge these things. There's no free lunch. You can't sit down and say Naira is 1-to-1. It will show up, the real price will show up somewhere else in the economy. So in Ghana, because you are paying that price, it's because the Ghanaian Central Bank will credit the international airlines immediately. In Nigeria, you are paying almost double the price because the Nigerian Central Bank does not credit the airlines immediately, even though you buy it at the $4.68. Let's get Stark. I got Stark Finn. Stark Finn, you've got the floor. How are you doing, sir?
Well, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for putting this together. Just wanted to maybe have us take a different angle at this conversation.
Go for it.
I'm actually in the States. I work for the federal government, so I'm quite familiar with some of all of this conversation. So what I'm trying to say here is that, after World War II, right, the US dollar was made the global reserve currency. So let's just think about that, right? So we were not at the table during that Bretton Woods agreement. So now we are all talking about FX and how the US dollar affects the Nigerian naira. This is the primary source of the problem, guys. Nigeria's never going to win the battle. We're basically riding a dead horse or riding on a broken ass or, maybe trying to ride a horse that does not belong to us. And that's what we need to start realizing is that if America goes through an inflationary environment, it indirectly impacts every country that uses the USD as FX. So you mentioned earlier about what happened in the 70s and how that destroyed the Nigerian economy. That was simply because Nixon at the time took us out of the gold standard and switched it to the fiat standard, which destroyed a lot of countries' currency. So no matter what happens, no matter what we try to do in Nigeria with fixing the FX situation or with our policies, whatever happens to the dollar would indirectly impact the naira because we are running our economy based on the global USD, basically. You want to call it the euro dollar, you want to call it the petrodollar, that's basically how we're running the government. Which then goes back to the conversation about creating policies, having the central bank create policies. I will tell you one thing. The same Chicago School of Economics that we're trying to implement in Nigeria is impacting the U.S. right now because the Federal Reserve in the U.S. just literally in the last month, the U.S. dollar U.S. debt has increased by $1.8 trillion in less than 1 month. How do you think that's going to impact Nigeria? Majorly. So we have to be very careful about, let's give the federal government more authority to enforce or to push policies. The founders of the United States said they want to separate money from government. If you're able to separate money from government, a lot of what we're talking about here we can fix. There's conversations about made in Nigeria and all that kind of stuff. That's a underground level policy that Nigerians themselves can implement without full reliance on FX. But hey, why am I to be talking about that? Here's the fact. We human beings, no matter what government we have, especially in Nigeria, which we know we have challenges with all over Africa, is that we're all built to be corrupt, right? For some reason, that is the problem. So the only way we can fix that is this whole challenge about, we have to stay on the SWIFT system, because basically, FX is still on the SWIFT system, right? We have to find a way to have a parallel solution to that. Like, while we're still begging for World Bank money and IMF money, we need to be coming up with our own unique African solutions. Instead of us relying, like, all day long, we'll be saying US, FX, like, why are we so reliant on the country that already has its own challenges?
So, I mean, this argument about the US, the reality is this, right? The dollar today is a global reserve currency. That's a fact, you know, and it's not going to change anytime soon. We have the BRICS, China and Russia are pushing. The best that China is going to do is to be an alternative, but the Chinese yuan is not convertible, which means it's not going to be, you can't go to the streets of Aba and buy Chinese yuan. To be central bank to central bank. The dollar is here to stay for now. But when you make the point about fiscal policy, that's the advantage the US has. They can print paper and we have to buy. There's nothing we can do about it. The only way you can avoid it is if you go back and you do import substitution, where you are reducing the amount of dollars or you are increasing your net exports. So you don't mind holding dollars to import raw materials or machinery, but you are exporting more to gain more dollars. That's really what we have to focus on, and not worry about what the U.S. policy would be. And China holds $3 trillion in U.S. dollar reserves. 3, then T, trillion. China. And they are the same folks that are pushing to replace the dollar. So get the point. They hold 3 trillion, but they are also pushing to replace the dollar. Because the long and short of it is that the dollar is not going to go anywhere. So what we have to do is focus internally. Get our cost low, get our productivity high. That's all we need. It doesn't matter the currency we use or want to use. Let the cost of making gala fall in Nigeria, that you cannot import gala to Nigeria and sell. Why? How is it possible that rice, would be brought from India to Nigeria and the price is cheaper than rice from Kebbi to Lagos? That's the question we want to ask. If you can fix that, you fixed 80% of the problems in Nigeria. That's really it. It's a very, very easy fix for us. Guys, we're going to round up in about 25 minutes. I'm going to make sure everyone that's requested to speak would have something to say. I do apologize, we're going to run against the clock. So let's keep the comments short and let's get everyone in here. Daddy, you've got the floor. Daddy Bella, you've got the floor, sir. Please go ahead. Daddy Bella going once, Daddy Bella going twice.
Yeah, good evening, everyone.
How you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. So, I just want to talk briefly about the FX remittance in Nigeria, because I'm a stakeholder in the sector. So, I have some businesses in the US with some of my siblings. So, we have this Nigerian community who we are friends and family with. So, majorly, we created a window for them to remit money to Nigeria. And some of them, whenever they want to move their money from Nigeria to the US, they use us. So I just want to talk about the behavior. Normally, whenever they want to send money to Nigeria, they want to change money to dollar. Once they give you their word that, oh, I'm sending so amount to you, they do it. But nowadays, like for 2-3 weeks now, you hear from them now. In another 10 minutes, you don't hear from them again. Like everybody's shopping for the best rate. So I just want to talk about their behavior. But the level of remittance has not changed. The people, the rate people are remitting money to the country have not changed. But the behavior, like the people are just looking for the best rate. That's just what I'm talking about on the issue.
Yeah, I'm not sure I got that. So, I'm not really sure I got what you were saying. If you could say that again.
Okay, I mean the behavior of those who remit money to the country has changed. Like in the past, once they want to do business with you, they go ahead and do it. But nowadays, they look for the best rate because the rate at which dollar is changing in Nigeria. Yeah, so that's just what I noticed in like 2-3 weeks now.
So you're saying it has gone up. Has it gone up?
No, the level of remittance is the same, but the way people are changing have changed. The way people are changing, I mean, once they give you your word that they want to change money now, they go ahead. But nowadays they look for the shop for the best rate. Like they want to ask the X, Y, Z before they go ahead because the rate at which naira is changing.
So you're saying people are shopping around, people are being more,
Yeah.
So this goes
back. Like before.
Point I heard Kiyoshi making, that people are like trying to time this thing. If they think dollar is going to go, they are waiting.
Exactly.
And I think I agree with that sentiment. If I know dollar is going to go up and it's not for welfare, why would I buy today? I think that's a good point. All right, thank you. Okay, right. Eddie, you're welcome, sir. Eddie, FPC, you've got the floor, sir. Eddie, go ahead.
Hi, Mr. Kalu.
Hey, how you doing, man?
Good. Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. Thank you to everyone. I'll just go straight to the point, right? I want to provide some perspective on what's happening in West Africa, because I'm based. I kind of travel around West Africa a lot. So yeah. So you see, with the fuel subsidy, I think it's obvious to everyone that Nigeria was basically subsidizing the region. Petroleum products. There are villages, all around the border of Nigeria, right from Seme, Idiroko, down to Kwara State, right up, even up to Niger, where the entire industry is based on importing fuel from Nigeria. And I'll tell you that has changed with the removal of fuel subsidies. So we were kind of, biting more than we could chew, because speaking to you from Lome, a liter of fuel is about 700 CFA. French CFA, francs, 700 CFA, yeah. So converting that to naira, that would be about 800 naira, So it was far easier, cheaper to, import fuel illegally from Nigeria, and I think that has changed. That has changed a bit. Yeah. So I get to see, by virtue of.
So Eddie, you're cutting off. Let me just ask you. You live in Lome, and the cost of petrol has gone up because Nigeria has removed the subsidy, right?
No.
So how was that?
The official price of petrol hasn't gone up. Yeah, but there was a lot of black market activity in Benin Republic, in Niger, even in Togo. There was a lot of black market activity. So if you go to the black market, for instance, you could get, before the fuel subsidy was really taken off, you could get fuel cheaper than you would get at the pump. Yeah. So, but that doesn't happen anymore.
I hear you. What I'm asking is that how has it affected the behavior in that country? Are there more cars, less cars? What's going on?
So what's happening is you don't have as much black market activity, and also the official price is still the same, 700 CFA, but you don't have as much black market activity. A lot of fuel coming from Nigeria as much. Yeah. So that's what I want to point out.
Where I'm really going to is that means the guys in that country could not really afford petrol in the first place.
See that?
They really couldn't afford petrol in the first first place. They were really getting their petrol from Nigeria.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, a lot. Quite a lot. Yeah, really.
Now that we have the real pricing of petrol, they cannot afford to drive those cars anymore. Is that a correct statement to make?
No, I wouldn't say that that's a correct statement to make. But I would say for certain that you don't have as much black market activity as it used to be in the past. So that I would say so.
The black market price was lower than the official price in Lome. Is that correct?
Definitely. The black market price was lower than the official price.
There's more. That means the price of petrol in Lome has gone up.
In the black market, yes, it is. It is kind of it's at par right now. So there's not so much black market, I would say.
So my submission is that because there's now one single price of petrol, there's no more black, cheaper, illegal market. Because there's now just one real price of PMS in Lome, the real economy is now showing. The real economy. And the real economy is what's going to happen in the next 12 months. To say, if we could afford to drive 10 kilometers, maybe we'll drive 8 kilometers, so and so and so. That's where I'm going to.
Yeah.
There has to be a change in demand and consumption. With the real prices.
Definitely. Even in Benin Republic, there was quite some crisis, at the start of the at the start of the removal of the subsidies. So there was quite some crisis. And if you know Benin Republic very well, there are very few petrol stations because it's far easier, cheaper to just bring in from Nigeria. So I think there's changing.
So again, what's going to see is that now we will see the real economy when we take away the subsidy. Like when we take away the training wheels on the bike, we then know if the child can actually ride a bicycle or if it was just on relying on training wheels to ride the bicycle. That's where I'm going to. That we will see the real demand, the real consumption, the real economic effects in Benin Republic today.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Sure. Yeah, but I have a question for you, Mr. Kalu, just before I go off. The first question is this, right? Is it a complete subsidy removal or just a price change? That's something that is not clear because you have this constant devaluation of the naira, so you get to a point where it becomes.
Are you talking about naira or petrol? Just to clarify, are you talking about naira or the dollar? What are you talking about?
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, if the price is fixed, for instance, if the price is fixed, say at 500 naira,
dollar, the crude oil. What are you talking about?
I'm talking about the price of petrol at the pump.
Oh, gotcha. So what has happened was that we have crude oil in Nigeria priced in US dollars, and because the oil price for millions of years, from say 1960 to 1972, was below $5, below $10, we did not notice the subsidy. But when the refineries failed in Nigeria also coincided with when the oil prices started to go up to 40, 50, 70, or 100. Hence, the subsidy that we did not feel when the price was below $10 now became the largest expenditure item in the whole of Nigeria. So what they've done is to take away the subsidy, right, on the crude oil, not on the refining. So what I mean is this: we take crude oil, we take it abroad, it's refined, it's brought back as PMS. The difference between that procedure is what they then pay as subsidy. They pay the subsidy to balance what they take out and what they bring back in as PMS. That's the subsidy, the price at the port when it lands. The government today has removed that subsidy. They've said we are not going to subsidize the difference between the crude oil we take out and the PMS we bring in. And going further, we're even saying anybody can import and export because the NNPC is only going to do 30%. So today, if you get crude oil, you can sell at any price you want in Nigeria. That's what they're saying. Whatever price you want, you can sell. The subsidy that we think is going to be saved from the Dangote refinery might not happen because the cost of PMS is really a function of crude oil. So when Dangote sells his petrol from the pumps, that price is going to sell, according to Nigerian laws today, he can sell at market prices, according to Nigerian law today, because his cost of PMS is taken from the cost of crude oil, which is priced in dollars. So they've simply taken away the subsidy that they pay at the port to say that whatever you bring into Nigeria, Nigeria used to have a regulated price. The difference between the regulated price and the market price, that was the subsidy they were paying. So once they've taken that away, that means that whatever price it lands in Nigeria, that market price, you add your retail, you add your profit, you can sell at whatever price you want. So that's what Nigeria government is saying. No more subsidy of crude oil, irrespective if it's at the ports, at the pumps. That's what they're saying. Does that make sense to you, sir?
Yeah, that sounds good. So I think that's useful information. Yeah, so...
So the simple answer, no regulated PMS price in Nigeria going forward. That's a simple answer. So the market will determine the price, no regulated price. But of course, you are importing the PMS with dollar. And the dollar has also no regulated price, which means that the PMS price today is a function of crude oil and a function of the dollar exchange rate, which means it's going to go up. The way it comes down is if the price of crude oil internationally goes down and the naira gets stronger, then the price of PMS will fall. Otherwise, it's just going to stay up. That's what it means. All right, Eddie, I got you. Let me get Irobe in here. Irobe Matthews, what's up, bro? Eddie, thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Matthew, you've got the floor. Hey, go ahead.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Mr. Aja, for this opportunity. Listening to you for a while and kind of like the way you put economic matters. Trying to look at what the challenge we're being faced with. We have a demand. We have a supply issue with regards to forex. And this is my view. I think whether we get this forex in through CBN or we get them through other means through fintechs or whatever it is, it helps cushions the demand we have in the market. Yeah. And I think in as much as we talked about remittances through all those other means, they really go a long way in helping because I get, say, $500 to my folks back in Nigeria. They're not going to spend $500 in the markets in Benin or in Warri or in Port Harcourt. They need to convert it to Naira. So they take it to the local Aboki and the man changes it to Naira to them. Who in turn will sell this same forex to somebody else who needs it. So at the end of the day, it helps us. So how the Naira comes into the country, for me, I don't care. The most important thing is that we need to get enough of it. But while we have a lot of people in diaspora saying they're doing so much remittance into the country, we also seen it is in the last 5 a lot of people are taking out of the country, and that is impacting the economy. I think more. We are not seeing the impact of what Japa is because.
Hey, you're breaking up and you're making some good. You can hear me, but your audio is breaking up.
With the chicken, and I think that is where the problem really lies. They're leaving this country and they're taking that of about $20,000-$30,000 with them out. It's enormous strain on our economy. I don't think we have a remittance to match that level. In these foreign clients, they've not settled in easily, so they are offloading their properties back in Nigeria in search of forex also, and it's not really positive. What we need to do is to say, how do we get policies right?
I hear you. But your audio is breaking up, so let me just really jump in, right? So the JAPA thing in the long run will favor Nigeria. No mistakes about it. Before JAPA, Nigeria was already getting 25 billion unofficially annually. That's an estimate unofficially. All those kids going to Canada are going to start to send money back to Nigeria in the next 5, 6, 7 years, and it will keep on increasing and snowballing. But the real remittances we want is not just the welfare, it's the transfer of technology, the transfer of investment, so that when we say FDI, it will be a Nigerian that works in, say, Dell Canada, that will then bring Dell Canada's process to manufacture or something in Benin. That's when you start to see like what China has done with 1,000 talents. So China will tell you that, listen, wherever you work in the world, if you want to relocate back to China with that tech, they will sponsor you. And that's where we start to see the benefits. So right now, I think it's an investment that Nigeria is making in those countries that will reap better. The problem for me with JAPA is that it's not a planned thing. People are leaving, and the Nigerian government has no, should we say, stake, or there's no planned thing. People are just
I think we're saying almost the same. We're saying about the same.
I agree with you. Yeah,
the guy who lives from okay, sorry, because I'm talking from the Bluetooth. The guy who lives from India, from Chennai to whatever in the US, has a plan to come back home. The government also has a plan to come back home. We are just anticipating that somewhere in the goodness of that individual who lives, he might decide to come back.
He doesn't need to come back. He doesn't need to come back.
When I say come back in the sense that if he doesn't come, his investment comes back.
The money will come. His
investment comes back.
The money will come back because right now, look at the entire world right now. Where do you see growth in the entire world? Europe is gone. Even China is China is slowing down. Population is slowing down in China. You have the Vietnams that are doing very, very well. China is slowing down. India is booming. What you're going to find is that if you're a Nigerian-based guy, either you were born in Nigeria or your parents were Nigerian, it's easier for you to invest back home because you have more links, you can get more information. So your capital will flow back to where you know, apart from the US where you are based out of. If you look at, that's why in the US has the advantage that the Indian folks that are in the US, right, the US is a big FDI, aggregator. Don't forget that. Why? Because people go to the US, take money from their country to the US. People forget that. And then it reverses in second generation. Their kids take that money from the US back to India, back to China, back to Croatia. It's going to happen in Nigeria. I'm not going to be an outlier. The same thing is going to happen. The problem is that when will it start to happen, and can we channel those flows of monies into the productive sector? Remittances alone is not FDI. It doesn't build a road. We need remittances that will build a road in Benin. We need remittances that would basically go to a village and produce solar power in that village, like what we would call social capital. It's not capital in quote unquote, but because he's a Nigerian, he can say, I would ignore returns that are above inflation for now just to get the standard of living to go up. So you have the Grameen Bank type banks. All those sort of things are what we want to see happening, and it will happen.
Then the question is, when will it happen?
That's what we don't know, but it will happen. That's why we need to plan. I've tweeted that we have to have a minister of the diaspora whose job it is to go out and attract not just the welfare, but the FDI and the tech from Nigerians abroad. It's a Nigerian I know. He works in Johns Hopkins, the brilliant cancer guy, He is here. He set up a cancer hospital in Nigeria to fight cancer here, right? He doesn't have to. He's making a lot of money back in America, but he's here. Telling that something, taking all the risk of kidnapping, of being killed and all that to set up a cancer hospital in Lagos and Imo State. That's what he is doing. There are many Nigerians in Maryland that would like to do the same thing, but the government has got to give them a plan. okay, if you want to come over, we will pay all your import duties. We will give you land for free. You can send in your money tax-free. For the next 5 years, you won't pay taxes. You have got to specifically target Nigerians to bring them back home to Nigeria. China has, like I said, the 1,000 talents program. Copy it. Yeah. Do it. It's not just to say send money home. So this piece is talking about remittances, but the real long-term goal should be target these folks, FDI, FPI, and also investment, because they know Nigeria better. They can go to your village and do a project there. They understand the nuances that they will know no water will be here, but we'll start for now and we'll get it better. If you don't do that, when you start to do that, then the foreigners will follow you into the country. We can't depend on just the foreigners. We have to target Nigerians. Minister of the Diaspora, that's to be their core activity, because which other business gives you 25 billion a year? Which other business in Nigeria gives you 25 billion a year? So if one gives 25 billion, you focus on it. Board level seat on the Nigerian Executive Council, reporting to the president. Get someone that is trusted, someone with gravitas, not a politician, and you put the person there to pass laws to make these things easier. If you don't do it that way, then what are we doing? You are chasing iron and steel and agriculture. When you have all these boys, Burna Boy, if you package Burna Boy and you attach Burna Boy, for instance, to Abba-made shoes, and you tell Burna Boy, the government of Nigeria, in exchange that you can import any currency you want to import free of charge, you have to advertise Abba-made shoes. So there's Kano leather, Abba-made shoes, gum from Benin, capital from Lagos. Package Burna Boy to only wear shoes made in Abba from Nigeria. When he starts to wear it, I guarantee you, all those Hispanics in the US, UK will start to wear Abba shoes. It doesn't have to be one shoe company. You have Egyptian cotton, Colombian coffee, Swiss chocolates. That's how you build a brand around the country. So now it will be, I want to wear that shoe that Burna is wearing from Nigeria. I want that leather from Kano. I want those Abba people to touch it. That's how you build the economy. Not every time agriculture who are in cutlass. We have to be more imagination. We have these assets. We are all wearing Hollywood. We curl their hair because they don't look like rappers. People wear suits in the hotel in Africa. They want to look like rappers, walking stick, boys to men. We've had the same thing. If boys to men were in Nigeria, we will not wear the same what they are wearing. We will say, no, be boys to men, leave them job. But now we have Burna Boy, Wizkid, all these guys, Rema, and we're doing nothing with them. If Rwanda had Burna Boy today, it won't be the same thing. So we have to get
totally agree with you.
That is remittance we're talking about. It's not just money. We have to be creative. These are national talents. We had Fela. Jamaica had what's his name?
Bob Marley.
Look at how they treated Bob Marley. Look at how Nigeria treated Fela. They killed Fela's mother. Killed his mother. Jailed him. The guy for holding currency. Fela, before this Burna Boy, that was the highest African with the highest attendance for any concert in the world. Fela, and the inventor of this thing, people are singing today, took away his house, by everything. The government just destroyed that guy. That the same thing, what is happening in Nigeria is delayed Bob Marley. So now these boys have now come and have taken that mantle. Imagine if they had celebrated Fela from 1970 to today. Burna Boy would have been beans now. But Nigeria, we've got to do things a bit more. It's not just every time CP and NNPC. What is NNPC? What is NNPC? If you have all these youth, talented, who invented Nollywood? Not the Nigerian government. Nollywood was invented by Nigerian entrepreneurs. Not the Nigerian government. The same with this music and video. Nigerian entrepreneurs, young people. So let's do better. Oh my God, I've taken a lot of time. Guys,
okay, thank you.
Yeah, so I do apologize, guys. We spent about 3 hours and we're going to have to shut it down. Let me just say thank you to everyone that has sort of hopped in here to make a comment. These spaces are designed to allow us to speak and to think about the issues on hand so that we can then go back and start to perhaps talk to a guy we know and say, hey, can we move the needle in this way or in that way? Remittances are very important, and the diaspora are a very important part of our economic policies. The Nigerian naira or the economy cannot survive without remittances. So I hope that we'll get our act together and we can start to bring in more and more funds into the country so that benefits us in employment, in the growth of the economy, and allows us to have peace, at least in this country. Let's give them the right to vote. We want their money, give them the right to vote, and let's hold our own leaders here accountable. On that note, guys, let me let you guys go. I'll see you guys Saturday next week on that time with Space with me, Kalu Aja. Thank you so much, guys, for joining in, and I'll see you guys later. Have a good day, and bye.